Cajun capital of the world.
I'm the average Lafayette, Louisiana kid.
See, I'm back on my...
Hey, fellas. Hey, Raging Review said, congratulations. Say what's up, y'all. Yeah!
People that have courage don't have no extra gene and no difference in you. The difference is, are you going to sit down when it's time to stand up?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another edition of Rage and Review. We got some interesting characters in here tonight. Got a lot going on. It is a couple days before Halloween, so we thought we'd bring out our favorite Halloween costumes. I am not Brett Benoit. In case y'all don't remember who Brett was, let me remind you right here, real quick. Brett got blindsided by this Troy dude, and then they got into a fight, and Brett ended up with a ripped shirt and jersey, and yeah. So I am not Brett Benoit. We all got to fight like Brett. We got Coach Dez here. What's going on, Coach? How are you?
We've seen better days as a program, but we're a little banged up just trying to put it together, but we're going to fit the run well and get it going this week.
You know? What's up, Ghost of Cajun Field? How you doing?
I remember back in those days where we won against Texas A&M. We rushed the field, and nobody knew where the field goal post ended up.
What kind of Monroe accent is that?
We're not UL Monroe, bruh. We're not UL Monroe. Wrong school, baby.
Oh, man. That's hilarious.
I don't know where Jerry went. There he goes. Stage student manager Jerry. Hey, Gerald, what's going on?
What's up, guys? Hey, y'all. Let's go out downtown after. Let's go to the Strip. Let's go to the Bulldog. Let's go to Keg.
And do what? Get a root beer float?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. Well,
look, I even got the 07 like hair spike going. So I got the 07 hair spike. I'm wearing the sunglasses like I used to do with the games. Look, I still fit in this shirt, even though it's tight as hell right now. But
I tore a good white shirt for this.
I know you're having a tough time seeing. You can go ahead and put your glasses
No, I'll
back
put them on. We got a second. I know. I'm squinting right now. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to thank our sponsors. And when we come back, I'll have my glasses on so I can read what the hell we're doing tonight. I think that's all I got. We'd like to thank the following partners who make Rage and Review possible. Our title sponsor, the Best Stop Family Market, with locations in Katy and Baytown, Texas, Toledo Bend, Karen Crow, and of course the official location opened in 1986 in Scott. Visit the Best Stop and ask about the Rage and Review tailgate platters. Gulf Coast Bank, title sponsor of the Tailgate Show every Saturday 3 hours before kickoff. Planet Radio 106.7, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel, Rage and Hydration, and Dr. Brett Venable at Recovery Chiromed. And we'd also like to thank our Patreon sponsors listed here. For only $2 a month, you too could have early access to uncut interviews before they air here on our shows. You also get an exclusive Patreon icon next to your name on Cajun Threads, the official message form for Rage and Review. If you are interested in joining as a Patreon, visit us at patreon.com/rageandreview. Thanks to all of our corporate and Patreon sponsors for making this show possible. Also, I forgot to do this, but I do want to give this comparison real quick. I mean, look at the real Dez and not Coach Dez. That's pretty good, man. I think you did a really good job there, KG. And you got the headset on and everything, brother. That's good stuff. We just got to get the accent down. In fact, speaking of accents, I don't know what the hell that was, Lane. I'm still trying to figure that out, brother. That was not good,
I was
man.
just making that up.
No kidding, huh? I just want to play this. I want to play this one more time because it makes me feel good. There you go. Poor Brett, man. I don't think Brett wears glasses, but I gotta see, y'all. I gotta see. So those are our Halloween I'm sure people are gonna ask us what the hell we're wearing. But hey, we'll just go with it, boys. Let's start on a recap of the previous game. Unfortunately, we do have to touch on that, but we're not going to go too deep. We did so. Who just groaned there? Who just groaned? Was that you, Jerry? God, it sounded like you passed gas. But that's basically what the game was, a giant fart. Cajuns were in it for most of the game. However, an interesting decision by Des to take Lunch out and replace him. You know, when things are kind of going well for us, replace him with Walker Howard, who, again, I want to say I love Uncle Wawa. Nothing against him. Pick a damn quarterback and stick to it. That is my thing. So, got Uncle Wawa, comes in, throws an interception. Pick six, actually, on a hospital ball. I mean, we can argue about that all day, but I'm going to win. It was a hospital ball. And then brings Lunch back in. And, of course, that has all disrupted the flow of the game. And now Lunch throws an interception, which leads to 7 points. I'll start with you, Cole. Talk to us about what happened in that game. And again, I don't want to go through all the statistics and all that stuff. I just want to hear your thoughts because we didn't get to hear a rundown from you over the weekend.
So thought we started fast, but I mean, we've done that the past couple weeks. It's like the scripted plays to start games and start, the second half of games goes well. And we saw it again this week. The first drive of the game was really good. Go down the field, you get points. You're able to, second drive, you punt it away, but you're able to get points off the third drive after the interception that you had inside the red zone, which is something that we knew was a key to the game for me that we had to get done. So yeah, you're up 14-7 early. You just forced South Owl into to turning the ball over on downs, and it seems like you were just going to continue your momentum. And then you bring in Walker, and I'm pretty much tired of the decision making of when to bring him in, when not to bring it in. I feel like we've beaten that down and analyzed that so many different ways. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the pass that he thrown and the way that he threw, I've argued with so many people on the internet. I'm about tired of making my point on that as well. I personally believe, so two things, and I'm going to make my point really quick. In the comments, he said it was the right read, and then directly after, he said that Caden ran the route not perfect, whether it was a little too deep or whatever. But one, it wasn't the correct read because you have an outside receiver on a free release and the cornerback's playing zone. He was basically open at the stick. The ball was already let go. If you put the ball on him, it's a 15-yard gain and a first down. The safety wasn't anywhere in the window, maybe 6 to 8 yards away from him. Secondly, if Caden did run the wrong route, it's the wrong read anyway, because that's basically you're just staring down your tight end. Your cornerback's in the flat waiting for him to catch the ball so he can make a play, and that's exactly what he did. He puts the helmet on him. Poor Caden's concussed. The ball goes in the air for a pick six. So, I'm just tired of arguing about it. And listen, if anybody had read Kevin Foote's article today about how there is, and the bottom line of Kevin's article is wonderful. He said, out of all the things that we need to be discussing about this football team, the quarterback situation is one of the ones that is at the bottom of the line. Why are we talking about this? But me and Jerry had a phone call literally a couple hours before this show, and Jerry made a good point. He said, well, Cole, we keep talking about it because we put him in at situations where it's flipping momentum. It's creating momentum for the opposition. It's giving the opposition points. And I thought Jerry made a good point about that as well. So I could see why it's such a polarizing conversation to have. There's a lot of people that love Walker Howard. And honestly, we wanted the best for Walker Howard. We were very high on Walker. But the fact of the matter is, in 2 drives in the last 2 weeks, he's accounted for 10 points for the opposition in games where we're struggling on offense. We're struggling to find an identity. But I will say this, Nick, and I know we're going to go around the horn. I personally thought balance-wise, play calling-wise, Dez actually called a pretty good game. Now I'm talking about the number of run plays versus the number of pass plays. It was about 2/3 run, 1/3, pass. And most of the passing was short passes to move the sticks. I want to say we tried forcing the ball down the field, maybe, 5, 6, 7 times all game long. Now, here's what I didn't like. Obviously, if Lunch has to run the ball 20 times, that's not good balance. As far as your personnel, giving the football to Zylan Perry, giving the ball to Bill Davis. Your running backs, both of them only had 9 carries each. And your quarterback had 23 carries. So that alone isn't great. But the thing is that he played to the strength of the quarterback draw killed South Alabama all night long. Every time we ran that QB draw play, he was hitting it for 5, 6, 7 yards. So credit to Coach Des for seeing something there and realizing, hey, it's not ideal that my quarterback's going to run it 20 times, tonight, but it's the way that we can move the ball, and we did. But what it came down to as well is kicking field goals in the red zone instead of scoring touchdowns. If you convert those 3 field goals into touchdowns, you're talking about, a 9-point swing to a 21-point swing, and you're easily in the conversation to win that football game. And we were. I mean, late in the fourth quarter, it was a 28-23 game. But you gotta punch the ball in the end zone and have a little bit more creativity in the red zone. And I really think that was one of the biggest differences in the game on Saturday.
And thanks for the update, RC. Basketball is down 28-15 at the under 4 timeout. And Chris made a good point, and so did Bryce. How are we this undisciplined 8 games into the season? How are we still seeing these penalties that back us up? It's almost like watching the NFL team in New Orleans. I mean, it's like you take 2 steps forward and then you take 15 steps back. That's how it feels like it's been all year, Jerry. And again, we're not going and criticizing the players. Like like I said, we love Walker and we think he's a very talented individual. But if we're going with Walker, go with Walker. If we're not, go with Lunch. And that's the biggest problem I have, Jerry, is I don't like the decision making. And I know we go to the Josh hates I know I'm not a coach, but we do know, like, we've watched football most of our lives. We do know how this turns out. And 9 out of 10 times it's not great, Jerry.
Yeah, and it goes beyond the quarterback situation to me, because I said this on the post game and I'll say it again. In the last 3 weeks, we have been a charity when it comes to giving our opposition momentum. The JMU game, couldn't score before the half, gave them momentum in the locker room. Southern Miss, 16-play, 86-yard touchdown drive, running the football majority of the drive. And in the following drive, after a defensive 3 and out, we start throwing the football and giving Southern Miss some momentum back, and then they ran with it after that, right? And then that it doesn't include the Walker Howard drive in the 2-minute offense where he just came out of nowhere and unfortunately threw an interception, which cost us a field goal, which gave them more momentum. And of course, they ran away with it in the second half. Same thing this past week. Going into that drive, that one play drive that Walker Howard went into, 2 out of our last 3 drives leading into that drive were touchdowns with Lunch. 3 straight defensive stops, missed field goal by Troy, an interception by Cortland Flowers, which led to one of those touchdowns for the Cajuns. And then on that play before, we had actually made a key 4th down stop in our own territory, which halted Troy's drive for the 3rd straight time. And then all of a sudden, you put another quarterback in, regardless of whether it's Walker Howard or not, you put another quarterback in, and then that pick 6 happens, once again, giving momentum back to Troy. And so there's a difference between having an issue with momentum, or should I say having injuries, right? Coach Des said after the game, we have an injury problem. There's a difference between having injuries, but it doesn't negate the fact that you're giving them momentum. Having injuries does not negate poor in-game decision-making. Putting Walker Howard in that situation, like Cole said, and we talked, like you said, we talked about it earlier, the last 2 weeks, they've set him up to fail. Walker really doesn't have a choice but to fail in a situation like that because of the situations that you put him in. You put him in sort of a lose-lose situation. The 2-minute offense, right, just didn't make sense. Then you put him in when the offense is clicking, and then you give momentum right back to Troy, which from there, to me, after that, we couldn't come back from it. I think Troy pretty much got momentum back. So with the injuries, we just can't afford to give momentum away. With the injuries, the margin of error narrows. And I feel like the choices that we've made on the in-game decision-making, we've basically made it a lot harder and a lot steeper for us to climb that hill to get back to where we need to be with all the injuries, with all the challenges that we face. And I think another frustrating thing about it is, in year 1 of Coach Des' his tenure here in 2022, I thought we learned this lesson. When Chandler Fields led 2 straight touchdown drives in Monroe, we walked into the end zone both times. He puts Ben Woldridge in. Not only do we score only 3 points the rest of the game, we end up losing. You would think in year one, after learning that and after actually experiencing a loss, that we wouldn't do something like that again after consecutive touchdown drives. But I guess we didn't learn. I don't know. But I can't put it on Walker. I know there's a lot of people that think, oh, Walker's bad and Walker this, Walker that. No, I think our coaching staff right now has not put him in a predicament to allow him to succeed. It's like you said, Nick, pick one. Either go with Lunch or go with Walker and be done with it. No more of this back and forth. No more of this giving momentum back to the other team. Just pick one and just get it over with.
And I'm glad you made that reference back to the ULM game, because we loved Ben and we loved Chandler. I mean, it was nothing against either one of them. But again, you changed the whole momentum of the game at that moment, which cost us the game. And it's like, we're in the same situation. We don't hate either one of those quarterbacks, but stick with one and go forward. I mean, hell, look at what Ben did last year. Ben single-handedly, I think, is the one responsible for most of the 10 wins. And then Chandler came in cleanup duty and did a fantastic job. So I don't know, man. Lane, I'll let you close it out for your thoughts, and then we'll move on because we got to start talking about USA.
Yeah, like all y'all did, I don't know why they put Walker in at that time. It was not necessary. We had the momentum, and then he throws a pick. Some people say it's on Caden. It wasn't. I mean, he threw it in a tight window with 2 defenders around him. Meanwhile, the receiver was 5 to 10 yards. Had 5 to 10 yards to spare with the defender behind him. And he could have easily made a catch and ran for the first down. But you don't put Walker in that type of situation to where he can make that mistake. I would have much rather keep Lunch in and we not score right there on a drive. But I don't get it, honestly.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be wrapping up that conversation and never talking about it again. So thank you, boy. We're not answering.
Are we
that.
still doing this, man?
Yeah,
Come
we're
on.
not. We're not. Now he's following us here. I said, look.
I mean, that's
you
fine,
just say,
but
agree to disagree at some point, man.
And like I've said before, and I know Jim's a big fan, but like I'm at the point now where the play should have never happened. Like the whole thing of even putting Walker in that situation. Now, I'll be the first to say, if we go in that drive and let's say Lunch goes in at quarterback and we get a 3 and out, then you put Walker in. Then you put Walker later in the game when you don't have the momentum and you're not getting in that rhythm. I'm all for putting Walker in. The problem is that before the game, we were told that he was going to go in every 3 drives. He goes in that one play, throws a pick 6, and he's never seen again. I mean, that could kill a confidence in any player, let alone a quarterback. The fact that he didn't even go back in the game, like that's just I don't think he's being used properly. Personally, I just don't.
And I don't see how you can blame a wide receiver or tight end that catches the ball and drops it, because he got absolutely demolished, which probably was targeting, by the way. That wasn't called, but anyway, I'm tired of talking about it. Last thoughts, and then we'll move on. Cool.
Yeah, last thing. I mean, regardless on how you feel about that one particular play, you could throw it in the tall grass because that's not what costed us the game. Second half, we had 3 scoring drives where we held the ball for just under 18 minutes total, and all 3 of those drives ended up in field goals. That can't happen. You're controlling the time of possession. You're controlling the tempo of the game. You have to find a way, like I said, to get a little more creative in the red zone and put that ball in the end zone. I asked you guys earlier in the week, and hindsight is always 20/20. I said when it was a 20-28 game and you're chasing 8 points, we had the ball at, I believe, at about the 9-yard line on a 4th and 9 or 4th and goal from the 9 opportunity. And I asked y'all, would y'all have gone for it right there with about 7.5 minutes left in the game? And all of us said no. We thought kicking the ball, was the correct call at that point. And I agree with y'all. I'm just playing devil's advocate when, you're struggling that badly to get inside the end zone in a half. Would you, I wanted to kind of play devil's advocate and see what you guys thought. But bottom line, the game to me came down to the 3 interceptions because obviously that led to points for them, and then not being able to execute better in the red zone. That's got to get cleaned up if we're going to have any hope, to win out this season.
I think what makes it difficult for those two, like we kicked 2 field goals in the second half. I don't know if you guys know, both drives were 10 plays or more. Like we had long, sustainable drives on those field goal drives. And that's what was frustrating because, to your point, we talked about the 3rd and 8 the other night. We called a timeout before that play, right? We called a timeout a few plays before. And like right after on 3rd and 8, we run the ball up the middle. And I think Coach Dez had said in his press conference on Monday that he wanted to gain some yardage to have short yardage on 4th down. Did I hear that correctly? Is that?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I think that's what he said. But then I'm kind of also thinking if you're not able to convert in the red zone, you're not able to get touchdowns. To me, and I'll ask you guys this, kind of what Cole alluded to, kicking the field goal. Do you guys go for the end zone on that 3rd and 8 play instead of trying to? I mean, obviously, I didn't like running up the middle, but do you go for the end zone instead of trying to get the 4th down short yardage?
I mean, I don't want to get in the coach's head, but I'm assuming he was trying to cut the distance to be able to have a chance to go for it on 4th down. And obviously, when you get stopped right there, you're just going to take the 3 and live to fight another day. But yeah, if you're not, how can I put this? If your goal, I personally would have took a shot in the end zone right there because, and I'm the first guy to say run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. But obviously they were having success stopping the run in the red zone and limiting us. I mean, you got to take some shots right there and see what you can get out of it. But to answer your question, Jerry, I do think that run was setting up a manageable 4th down play. It didn't work out. And I want to say one more thing before we move on. Y'all did not say a single word in my opening monologue when I kept calling them South Alabama. Not a one of y'all corrected me. And
I didn't even notice.
I didn't even know.
Yeah,
my bad.
3 or 4 times. I went back in my head and I thought about it. But shame on y'all for not correcting me if y'all knew about that.
All right, Coach Dez, it'll be okay. All right, boys, we do have to move on because we've got a lot of stuff to go over tonight. We do want to give a shout out to Jerry, who sat down with the voice of the South Alabama Jaguars earlier today, JT Crabtree. He gave us a preview of what to expect against the Jags. The Jags coming into this game with a 2-6 overall record. And like us, they only have one FBS win this season, which was against Georgia State last weekend, which if you've watched any of that game, well, first of all, God bless you. Second of all, South Alabama was down by like 30 points in the second half and then came back to win that game 38-31. So we will go on the road and face the Jaguars on Saturday, which I always have a trouble saying the Jaguars. That's not an easy thing to say. That's why I usually just go with Jags. But let's go ahead and visit. Yeah, let's just go ahead and visit with JT Crabtree, the voice of the South Alabama Jaguars.
All right, guys, I'm here with the voice of the Jags and friend of the pod, Mr. JT Crabtree. JT, what's going on, man? We meet again.
Yeah, good to see you. Glad to be back on here. That means the Jags and the Cajuns getting ready to play in something. So this is going to be fun.
Yeah, every time we play South Alabama, there's always sort of, I wouldn't say it, I know in baseball it's a rivalry, but in football there is familiar, there's like a familiar vibe with South Alabama. It seems like, every time we play some South Alabama in something, there's always like a past. I don't know whether it's a basketball final in the conference tournament or the baseball brawls we used to get into in the 90s. And even football, we've had some really, really good matchups. But no, it's great to play you guys again. We always enjoy it. The Jags have been a very familiar foe to the Cajuns for a long time. We were kind of like one of the OGs of the Sun Belt. Not in football. I know South Alabama started in football a little bit later, but in the other sports, we go way back, man. We got a history together.
Yeah, it's fun. It's always fun. We've got, of course, our in-state rivalry with Troy, and Southern Miss is developing into a regional rival. But I keep telling folks, like, hey, don't forget about Louisiana over there in Lafayette. Those games, like you talked about in the 90s with the baseball brawls, even the softball diamond. We haven't beat you guys in 10 years, but those games are always fun, and they're always kind of packed with emotion. And you're right. Football always feels like there's something weird that happens every single. The home team never wins in this series ever.
I noticed
so
that.
Weird.
Yes, I do notice that.
They're definitely fun matchups. I love when we play Louisiana in any sport. They're always good matches.
So, JT, tell us a little bit about yourself. You've been with South Alabama for a little while now. You've been on the show with us before. Every time we play, it seems like we try to get you on to kind of give us a little update about the Jags and what they're doing and what we can expect when we face them. But how's your experience been in Mobile covering the Jaguars? You seem to have become a staple down there.
Yeah, it's I've been here at South in total since 2009. I was a student. I went to South, graduated in 2014, and I've been on the radio since I graduated. I did a little bit of college radio my senior year, and full transparency, I got very fortunate of timing where when I graduated, the old radio crew was moving on. They were creating the Jaguar Sports Properties and a new radio crew, and I was hired as part of that back in 2014. To just do the halftime show and engineer and run the equipment and whatnot. And lo and behold, here we are 12 seasons later. I'm now doing a play-by-play for the Big Three from alma mater. Met my wife at South, and my parents went here. So I'm red, white, and blue all the way through, man. This is home for me. I'm from Mobile. So, it's definitely cool to be able to stay in my hometown and to call games from my alma mater. I've been very fortunate in that respect to be able to do what I do at a place that means so much to me. So it's been cool to see this place grow. I've been here since football started in 2009. That was my first year as a student at South, and so I've literally seen this program from nothing to now. And it's been really cool to see how we went from a little school that was playing prep teams in our first couple of years and playing nobodies. I'd never heard of Fork Union, but we played them twice the first couple of years as a football program. I'd never heard of them before, but it's very cool to see us go from that now to, playing a regular FBS schedule. Getting to play Auburn this year was really cool. Going to UCLA and then playing the Rose Bowl a couple of years ago as well. So it's been really fun to see this program grow, and I'm very blessed to be a part of it.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, I'm kind of the same way. I have family ties to UL. I met my wife at UL in graduate school. And, when you have a personal tie to it, when you're calling a game, I'm sure you have a little bit more of that emotional feel to it because it does hit home for you. It's not just a regular job, right? There is some sentiment to it. And it's kind of like that with the Cajuns with us. Obviously I'm not the play-by-play guy. I don't call games, but when we talk about the Cajuns, it is personal in many ways because of the ties we have. But speaking of the football program, you just mentioned it. It's been 16 years since South started its football program. And like you said, they've grown tremendously. I mean, they've had some big wins. I feel like their program has expedited itself. One of the wins that stuck out to me, I think it was somewhere in 2016 or 2017, the win against Mississippi State. Yep. You've had Mississippi State come to Ladd Peebles, your old stadium. I mean, the South has played some really respectable football for such a short amount of time that football has existed. I mean, I got to ask you, for us, I think it's pretty impressive when South is able to start. I mean, guys, I was in college too when South started the football program. And I remember back in the day, South Alabama kind of reminds me of UNO, or I grew up in New Orleans. So like, it's a very similar vibe to the school, school kind of in the middle of a bigger city. And I always kind of wondered if UNO could follow in the footsteps. They've tried getting football a few times, hasn't quite worked. Their population really decreased since Hurricane Katrina, so they really haven't been the same. But South Alabama has followed that formula. And I got to ask you, for us, we feel that it's grown tremendously. Has that vibe on your end, being on the inside, the same way? Do you feel like you're ahead of schedule? Do you feel like it's grown really, really fast? Is South Alabama football where you want it to be? In the 16 years, how has that progress been from the point of view of someone who's associated with the university?
I think it's been pretty solid. I think especially early on, we were in the express lanes of football program from 2009, playing our first season. Like I mentioned, we played a 7-game schedule the first year, then a 10-game schedule and mixed in some FCS schools, and then 2011, full FCS, 2012, full FBS. I mean, 4 seasons in, and we're playing against schools that have been established for years. And so to make that jump, it was pretty daunting early on, especially I think it was 2011. We played on the road at NC State, and it was like, okay, this is a big jump from playing Henderson States every other week or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Huntington from the D3 level that's in
NAIA.
state
Yeah. Schools you've never heard of, like you said.
Yeah. Big jump. And, that first quarter or so, we kind of hang with them a little bit. And it's like, whoa, hang on here. Like, are we going to pull this off? Of course we didn't. But, it gave you that kind of false sense of hope a little bit. But also, it made you feel pretty good that, hey, we might be able to do this thing. We're only 3 seasons in, but we might be able to do this thing. And then 2013, we actually defeat Louisiana to end the regular season, which got us bowl eligible.
I was
the
there.
First time. We didn't get picked. Do you remember how cold that game was?
It was freezing. Yes.
Brutal.
It was
brutal.
Cold. Yeah. But
we got to 6 wins that night. Didn't get selected for a bowl game, but that was really the first time where we thought, all right, we can compete at this level. We can do this thing. And then 14, we do go to a bowl game for the first time. And to go to a bowl game in year 6 or 5, whatever it was in our program history, I think it was 5, we were the fastest program in the country to go from no football to bowl game in FBS history. So it was pretty cool to see how quickly we went from nothing to competing at the highest level. And so that's what's been really exciting about it. And, you mentioned the Mississippi State win in 2016. That was the kind of the next step of, all right, we need to beat a Power 5 at the time program. We got it. That same year, we beat 17th ranked San Diego State that had the longest winning streak in the country at that point. All right, you check that box. We still didn't have that bowl victory. We lost in 14. We lost in 16. And we didn't go back to a bowl game until 2021. And at that point, we had moved into our home now, actually, where I'm coming to you from my office at Hancock Whitney Stadium, where we left Ladd, which was a city-owned stadium downtown, about 20 minutes from campus. The parking situation wasn't great. If you were a student, you had to hopefully win the kind of student lottery for a parking pass to get down there. And at the time, we had an enrollment of about 16,000 and only had about 200 parking passes to divvy out to students. So it was pretty tough for students to get down there. Either you took a shuttle or you're one of the lucky students, or you paid to park in someone's yard and hope you weren't triple parked in someone's front yard trying to leave. And so there were a lot of logistic things early on that we had kind of maximized at Ladd, that it was, okay, we need to move on campus. We need to move to a facility that's ours, to a facility that we can fully control, but also a facility that feels like home. It definitely felt like we were just renting space at Ladd, which we were. And even from an operations standpoint, because it hosted Friday night football and high school games, we weren't able to get into the facility until the morning of on game day. And so that made a lot of things logistically pretty hard. It made game days very hard, especially if we're kicking off at 6 o'clock, you're down there all day long. And so we needed a reset, and having an on-campus facility was that next step. And so we opened up Hancock Whitney Stadium in 2020. Naturally, the pandemic happens at the worst time for us to open a new facility. But then we open in 21, and we really start to see this program take that next step. We had a 10-win regular season, go 10-3 and lose our bowl game over in New Orleans. And then 22, you get your first bowl victory. And, again, check that box. That's that next step. And then 23, 24, you keep it rolling. And so it's been impressive to me. I've got the dates wrong there, but 22, the 10-win season, 23, first bowl win, etc. Keep it rolling now in 24 and 25, and we're trying to keep it rolling in 25 now. We've got a tough start to it so far, but I've been really impressed with how this program has continued to grow. I think that next step now, we've got the bowl appearances. We have a bowl victory of 2 of them now. And so now that next step is a conference championship game. And, again, we've got some work to do to get there. The West, I think, is still pretty wide open for everybody. It looks like it's going to run through Hattiesburg right now. But that's that next step for this program. And I think we're pretty good on track for that, and especially in this crazy world of NIL and transfer portal where teams basically reset every single year. I think we're on track for continuing the pretty good trajectory this program's on.
No, definitely. And I had the chance to go to the game in 21 at Hancock Whitney Stadium. And it's a beautiful stadium on campus. Setting couldn't have been any better. So, no, job well done to South Alabama on that stadium. But let's talk a little bit about the Jags right now. It kind of feels like we're having a down year in the Sun Belt, especially in the Western Division.
Yep.
I think we're light years ahead of where we were in when the conference was formed in 2001. We're light years ahead when South Alabama joined. I think we've had some ranked teams and we've had some good competition, but where do you think the conference will go from here in this world of NIL and all this conference realignment stuff? Like, where do you see the Sun Belt in 5 to 10 years?
I'm curious how much the top and the bottom is going to separate itself on a regular basis. Last couple of years, there's been a pretty good distinction of, okay, these are the bottom teams fairly consistently. These are the contenders year in and year out. And, Troy had a down year last year adjusting under Jared Parker, but look at them. They're right back up at the top now with Southern Miss in the West. And then you look at the East, you expect App State to be up there most years. Again, new coach adjusting over there. Coastal Carolina has been a little bit up and down, but James Madison is the cream of the crop over there right now. And when you go to Harrisonburg and if you get a chance to see their facilities and how much of a local buy-in they have over there, it's impressive. Especially
it's top notch.
It's pretty solid, especially Bridgeforth Stadium where they play football. If once they get that, I think it's their east side, the visitor side stands to match the home side, that's ACC level. It's very impressive what they got up there in JMU. And so I'm curious to see how much the top pulls away and the bottom falls away in the conference. I think we're going to see a pretty substantial gap now with the revenue sharing, the roster situation where it's not scholarship numbers, it's equivalent money. And so I think you're going to see different programs, basketball, for example, for some sports where they may have had 13, 14 scholarships to work with in the past. I think you're going to see a lot of schools start to go to just 10 scholarship kids and just supplement the rest with walk-ons and use that money to give for NIL purposes. And so, that's all within everyone's prerogative. And so I think that's going to be interesting, especially on the baseball diamond. Schools like Louisiana that have a really good, a really passionate fan base for baseball, and a school like that, like Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, and us in a respect, we've had some down years recently, but we have a rich baseball history. Those schools that really value baseball, it'll be interesting to see what kind of floor they set for scholarship. We're not 11.7 anymore. It's however many you want within 32. And, it won't be surprising if we see teams like Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss and try to get as close as they can to 32. Louisiana, wouldn't be surprised if they're in the 20s or the mid-20s in that respect. So there's going to be some parity and some separation mixed in there. Will James Madison use some of their success that they have translated from football and basketball and in recent years with baseball, where they've gone to the tournament 2 years ago? How much of that translates to their other sports being better? I think there's going to be a pretty big trickle down across the board in this league here in these next couple of years. Now, I know that everyone gets a kind of sticker shock with some of the big numbers they see with NIL with some of the big name teams. And yeah, it's a different ball game, but it's going to work itself out a little bit here. The money's going to get capped out at some point. People are going to get tapped out. They're going to be tired of being asked to give more just for a kid to leave. But it's going to be interesting to see when that comes. And for teams, all of us here in the Sun Belt Conference, I think there's a good opportunity to make some headway before that comes and kind of help even the playing field. So it'll be interesting. I'm really curious to see what teams really dive in and say, we're going to make that commitment, stay at the top of the conference.
No doubt about it. And it's evolving every day. Every day
Yes.
It's evolving, and there's something new coming out every day. So let's move over to the Jaguars offense. They're led by redshirt junior quarterback Bishop Davenport. He's really taken the reins this year as starting quarterback after replacing Gio Lopez, who I believe transferred out. So he has a quarterback rating of 144.86, just under 1,500 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, on paper, he looks to be a pretty decent quarterback. Talk a little bit about his performance so far, taking over as QB1, and what can we expect from him this upcoming weekend against the Cajuns?
Yeah, we saw 2 glimpses of him last year, one in game 2 when Gio Lopez got hurt with turf toe, and so Bishop had to start at Ohio. And then we actually saw him start the bowl game when Bishop was hurt, when Gio was hurt again. And Bishop was great in the bowl game. He had a great deep ball. He had a 50-yard touchdown run. And week 2, when he played against Ohio, we kind of watered down the offense, and it was like, okay, I see that we're clearly not going to pull the reins off him and just let him go. Like, we're going to throttle him a good bit. And so when we got to the bowl game last year, we're thinking, all right, are we going to do the same thing again? Because that's probably not going to get it done here against Western Michigan. And we didn't. We let the guy go out there and just ball, and he did just that. He was tremendous in the bowl game against Western Michigan. And so coming into this year, obviously you lose Gio Lopez to North Carolina, and you wished you still had him. But you knew you had Bishop, who played well in the bowl game. And okay, another year, he's going to be the guy coming in. He should be pretty confident in himself. And it was a little bit of a slow start for him. He had a good game against Tulane week 2. We kept things very vanilla week 1 against Morgan State to just not show too much on film. Played fine against Auburn in week 3. And then it was a stretch in there where ball security was an issue. He had some fumbles. He had an interception or 2 here or there. But for the most part, he's been pretty clean with the football. We haven't turned the ball over. I'm going to knock on wood here just as much as I can. We haven't turned the football over in the last 3 football games. And Bishop has done a very concerted job of making sure that he holds on to the football, that he makes better reads. And if he has to force something, or if there's a window to force something, he doesn't necessarily take it now, which has been an exciting progression midway through the season for him. And so he's the guy, which has been nice to know that he's the dude. He can run pretty well. He had a 57-yard touchdown run earlier this year at Troy. He just needs some more time just to get comfortable. He's a redshirt junior, but he has never been a full starting quarterback at the college level. He started his career at Utah State. He split some time there. He started 4 games as a true freshman, transferred out, and he's played behind Carter Bradley. He's played behind Desmond Trotter. He's played behind Gio Lopez. And so now, he's paid his dues. It's his time now. And so coming up on Saturday, you're going to see a guy that, he's going to mix in a deep ball every now and then. It was really, really encouraging to see how well he threw the ball downfield this past game against Georgia State, because we really had not done that at all this year. We had not really pushed teams vertically. And so to see him change that up was really exciting. His deep ball was very good. He actually checked out of a play and hit a fade for a touchdown. That was off script on the first drive of the game for us. So that was really good to see him be able to make those on-the-fly adjustments and make the right call. And so this Saturday, you're going to see a guy who I think is very similar to Lunch Winfield. He can use his legs, not as much as Lunch will, but he can use his legs. He can pass efficiently as much as he needs to, and as long as he doesn't make mistakes, he's a pretty darn good quarterback.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the Cajuns scheme against him, because it looks like he can do it all. He's very, like you said, he's very similar to Lunch, has decent arm strength, good passer. I mean, I think he threw for 200 yards last week against Georgia State for 2 touchdowns. Very impressive stats. So, I look at the 2-6 record and I see his stats and I'm like, that doesn't look like a quarterback from a 2-6 team. Yeah. But to your point, sometimes, it goes beyond the quarterback, right? So let's talk a little bit about the rushing attack. Offensively, South Alabama runs more of a spread offense, more of a run-heavy attack. Looks like running back Kentrell Bullock leads the charge in rushing. But you also have Keenan Phillips and P.J. Martin, who also carry their weight running the football. Can we expect the same approach against the Cajuns this week, where they all kind of get a share of their carries and try to gash the Cajuns defense more on the ground than in the air as well?
Yeah, we're definitely a run-first offense out there. You'll see a heavy dose of Kentrell Bullock, Keenan Phillips, and P.J. Martin. Those 3 guys, outside of last week where it was more of Kentrell and Keenan, you'll see all 3 mixed in there pretty well. And we ran a couple of QB design runs against Georgia State with Bishop, and you'll see that mixed in there. You'll see some QB power, especially in the red zone and some short yardage spots where we just need 4 or 5 yards or less. You'll see Bishop keep it. But Kentrell's the main guy, but we have done a heavy dose of rotating guys and just trying to keep everybody fresh. If we needed Kentrell to go out there and carry the football 28 times, he could do it. He might not be feeling too great come Sunday, but he'd do it. And so that's why we've got guys like P.J. Martin from New Orleans and Keenan Phillips, who transferred over from Georgia Military. Those guys could be running back ones elsewhere, especially P.J. I mean, the body control and the balance that P.J. Martin has been super, super impressive. he was a rock star at De La Salle over in New Orleans coming out of high school. It was a great pickup for us to get him. And then Keenan's kind of that change of back running back where a little bit thinner, but the shiftier change of direction guy. He's good on third downs, getting a swing pass out of the backfield or some screens. But you'll definitely see all three of those guys mix in there, and we're going to try and establish the run. That's what we've done all year long. We really tried to add some more elements of RPO as the season goes, especially because Bishop is such a running threat. He can legitimately pull that football out of the gut and take it himself. And so I think we'll see some more of that. It's going to be interesting to see how we decide to attack Louisiana this weekend, because we really, really stretched the field rather this past weekend against Georgia State. And so I'm curious to see if we can do that again this week. I know the Louisiana's defense is much better than Georgia State's. There's some injury stuff and whatnot, but Cameron Wakefield on the edge, and then your middle linebackers in there. And then we didn't face Tyree Skipper last year. He was out injured. And so having him back out there, I know it was a little step off just from recovering from that injury still on his knee, but still overall Skipper's a great player. And so all those elements mixed in there are definitely going to change some things for us. And so it'll be interesting to see how we look out there. Last year in this matchup, we jumped out really well in the first half. Just kind of had to hold on down the street. I mean, literally, that 2-point conversion had to hold on to win that football game. And so it'll be interesting to see if we can get off to another fast start. So what we did against Georgia State last week, I think that's going to be key again here this weekend.
No doubt about it. Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the receiving core. They're led by senior Devin. I guess you pronounce it Voisin in Alabama, right?
Yes.
Is that,
yep.
In South Louisiana is Voisin. We have a little bit of a Cajun twist to it, but Devin Voisin, he's kind of a familiar name to all of us. He's one of those guys where when we play another team, we're looking and we're like, this guy seems like he's been here for 25 years, which I'm sure is a huge factor for the South Alabama offense. But he's definitely a familiar name to all of us. But so far, 48 receptions, 642 yards, 4 touchdowns, pretty decent as a start. But let's not forget about Anthony Eager, who has also played a huge role in the passing game as well. And then you've got Brendan Scott and Jeremy Jenkins, who each had a touchdown against Georgia State last week. So after a good day at the office for the South Alabama receiving corps, can we expect the offense to try to spread it around again to complement the rushing attack that you just described with those 3 running backs?
I hope so, because last week was really the first time that we had kind of used other people more than Devin Voisin. Voisin's been our guy, and rightfully so. He's a 7-year guy. The team always, they call him Unc or Gramps. He's the old guy.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
This is year 7 for him. He had a great 2022, tore his ACL in game 2 of 23, came back last year, just was not healthy. At best, he was maybe 80% healthy. He'd put on weight just because he had to kind of help protect that knee. And so this offseason, he trimmed back down. He's lost the knee brace. He's gotten a step quicker. His big thing is his route running. And when he was a little bit bigger last year, he just couldn't make his cuts and his moves like he needed to create some separation. He's not the fastest guy out there, but he's really clean route runner, and that's how he creates some separation for him.
It's dependable.
So, having that health back has been huge for Devin this year. And you mentioned the other guys in there. Anthony Eager, who's a local kid. He's a speed burner, man. He was a track kid in high school. If you can get him into some space, he's pretty darn dangerous. Brendan Jenkins is the son of former NFL receiver Michael Jenkins. And so familiar name there. He transferred from Samford this year, and so he's got some experience. And then really it's been really exciting to see the emergence of Jeremy Scott, who's a redshirt freshman. Didn't play at all last year. Had a really good camp last year and just redshirted. This year, another big camp, and he's really, really played well. He had a 74-yard touchdown last week against Georgia State. He's a big guy, and he's got some pretty good wheels on him. He's probably the second fastest receiver we've got. He's a big guy standing at 6'3". He's a matchup nightmare for guys on the outside. He can play in the slot a little bit as well. He can move pretty good. And that 74-yarder was really more of an 8-yard pass that he just sliced up the defense and ran through 3 levels and got to the end zone. And so it's exciting to see him contribute so much for us these last couple of ball games. And it's nice to see someone kind of get the load off of Devin. We were fully keying on him pretty much every game, and teams were starting to naturally start to bracket him and double team him and not let him get away. And so seeing other guys step up. Michael Woods hasn't done a lot the last couple of games, but he had a stretch in there where he's played well. It's those 5 guys that are going to carry the weight for us here at the receiving cord. So it's exciting to see some more guys mix in there. I think, again, if this offense is going to click and we're going to try and win a football game, it's going to be more than Devin Voisin mixing in there. It's going to be a lot more of Jeremy Scott, more Brendan Jenkins. I think Jink is a guy that we haven't tapped into enough because last 2 years at Samford, he was very, very impressive. He's a very good possession receiver. Get to the sticks and turn around and get us 8 yards. He can be that guy. And so it's exciting to see those guys. We've used Eager a lot in some jet sweep stuff, using those speed and trying to get them on the perimeter and just stretch guys out. So if we can get more and more guys outside of Devin Voisin involved, I think that's a good day for the offense.
Yeah, jet sweeps. I would love to run some jet sweeps. We haven't run one in a long time, and we have some speedsters as well. But that's for another time.
Sure.
Let's talk some defense. The Jags, they run a 4-2-5. The Cajuns, looks like they'll try to, the Cajuns run a spread offense and more of a balanced attack, a little bit of RPO mixed in there. How do you think South Alabama will look to counter that Cajun offense defensively, especially with our quarterback who basically led last week in both rushing attempts and rushing yards? It looks like, Lunch is one of those guys who can, he'll run the ball on you. He's kind of like Taysom Hill. He'll lower his shoulder, but then he'll hit you with a play action or he'll hit you up top every once in a while.
Sure.
So what kind of preparation do you see with the Jags defense on how to handle Louisiana's offense?
It's going to be interesting because we've faced several mobile quarterbacks the last several weeks. We played Jalen Rayner. Tucker Kilcrease is actually sneaky quick over there.
We played him last week. He felt like he was a QB1. Very impressive for a backup.
Yes.
He did not play like a backup last week.
He looks very, very comfortable for Troy these last couple of weeks. And so we faced him. We faced Cam Brown last week. I'm missing someone in there as well who's a mobile quarterback. But regardless, we've played some guys that can move around as drop back passer. And so it's going to be the same again this week. I'm curious, you mentioned that we are primarily based out of a 4-2-5 where we'll have 3 down linemen, 1 stand-up edge, 2 middle linebackers, and then 1 high safety, your 2 outside corners, a nickel back, and then a position we call rover where it's our second safety that helps and run support in the box, plays up top a little bit, so literally moves around, kind of plays our center field a little bit in our defense. And we have mixed in there at times, not only 4-2-5, we've worked in some 3-3-5. We've even worked in some 4-3 the last couple of weeks, which we have not run in about 10 years here. And so it's interesting to see us mix in there so many different looks defensively, especially for a run-heavy team. We've used some more 4-3. We've used some 3-3-5, but last week against Cameron Brown for Georgia State, who the week before ran for over 120 yards against Georgia Southern, we really held strong to our 4-2-5, and our stand-up edge guy was just the spy that we rovered around a little bit in there. And so I'm curious to see which defense we roll with out there. I've liked what we've seen when we do decide to go to a 4-3. It's a different look. Again, we haven't run it in over a decade here, and so we have some pretty good linebacker depth. It's not just Blaine Myrick and Darius McKenzie, but Caleb Dozier, who was out last week with an injury. He's been really good. Dalton Hughes is very solid. Parker Shattuck has been very solid too, and Christelle Caldwell can mix in. That's 6 guys we can rotate in there pretty consistently at linebacker. And so we've got the depth to get some more linebackers out there. Again, that 3-3-5 might mix in there. We haven't used that the last couple of weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see, primarily we'll set base in that 4-2-5. We'll have 6-7 guys regularly in the box. And then, we might mix in there on a 3rd and 2 spot. We'll probably roll some 4-3 out there defensively just to give a different look, get some bigger bodies and some more guys in the box consistently, and we'll kind of roll the dice and see what happens.
So who are some of the guys or some of the names we should watch out for on that defense? Who are the playmakers? Whose name are you going to be mentioning on the broadcast on Saturday on making a big defensive play?
A lot of our guys have been making plays in the defensive backfield, but it starts at our middle linebacker spot and defensive player of the year. a preseason Defensive Player of the Year, and Blaine Myrick. He's a local guy from Fairhope, just 40 minutes away from campus. The dude is just a wrecking ball. He plays everywhere. He's always our leading tackler, but also some guys that have really stepped up this year. Two in particular is our free safety, Chris Wallace Jr., who's a local kid from Mobile, former walk-on. This dude was enrolled at South and wasn't even playing football. He was working out on the intramural fields, and one of our coaches happened to see him working out and said, "Hey, you look like you can play some football." "Yeah, I played in high school." "You want to walk on and try out?" And lo and behold, the guy is our top 2 tackler, and week in and week out, he leads us in tackles. Now, he's been pretty darn solid. This is year 3 with the program now, and he looks like he's the guy finally at safety. He's kind of supplanted Ty Goodwill, who was another local kid from Mobile. He started the year as starting free safety. He had a knee injury and missed a couple of weeks, but even before then, Chris Wallace has been really solid. And what's really impressive about Chris is he can play free safety. He can play that rover spot. He can play our nickelback position. He can also play outside at corner. And so he's our Swiss Army knife defensively. You can plug him in everywhere, and he, for the most part, knows what he's supposed to do and what everyone else is supposed to do too out there. So it's been really nice to see Chris Wallace step up. And then I think the biggest surprise defensively for us this year has been Nehemiah Chandler at cornerback. He's a redshirt freshman, transferred in from Georgia Tech, didn't really play a ton at Tech. He played a little bit of special teams. And cornerback was a spot this year that we returned 0 starts. And we bring him in, and Javon Henderson on the other side is a transfer from ETSU. And we kind of go into the season thinking, I don't know who we've got out there. I don't know who's going to start. Brian Dillard's the old man in the group, but he doesn't have any starts. He's a converted safety. D. Darby was a true freshman last year, mostly played special teams. So we didn't really know what we had out there. And then Nehemiah has come in. He has really established himself as a go-to guy defensively. He leads us in pass breakups. He's one of the best coverage corners in the conference, according to PFF. And so it's been really exciting to see how quickly he has established himself as a go-to guy for us on the defensive side. He's got some good size. He's 6'2", 185. He can hold his own. He did a pretty good job overall covering Ted Hurst for Georgia State last week. And so those are the 3 main guys defensively you'll hear from us. We'll rotate a ton of guys defensively. Our stand-up edge guys, Tyrell Johnson Jr., who's the current Sunbelt Conference Defensive Player of the Week. He had 10 tackles, an interception, and a forced fumble down the stretch at Georgia State. His forced fumble came when we were trailing in the game, got us the football back. We kick a field goal to tie it at 31. And then he also got the game-sealing interception down the stretch as well to seal the game for us last week. And so he's been huge. He's a transfer from D2 Harding, which is a very, very solid winning program at the Division II level. And so the guy knows how to win. And so he's bringing that mentality here to South, and it's been exciting to see those guys step up. Chris Wallace was a guy that didn't play a ton last year. Nehemiah Chandler didn't play a ton at Georgia Tech. Tyrell Johnson wasn't here last year. So it's been really exciting to see those new names step up and join Blaine Myrick and really kind of carrying the load defensively.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, just a few more questions before we let you go, JT, but I got to ask, both teams right now, they sit at 2-6, both are 1-3 in conference. Desperation is kind of snuck in for both teams. I mean, This is a make it or break it game. I mean, if you lose, your season's pretty much all but over, barring some miracle to get into a bowl game at 5-7 if you went out. What has been the approach so far this week, or the vibe around the South Alabama facility? For us, it's pretty much, this is almost like a playoff game. Like, you have to win this to make a bowl. And of course, it's been kind of disappointing on our end. We expected a lot more out of the Cajuns this year, but what has been the vibe so far with South Alabama with the 2-6 start?
I think for the first time all year, it's confidence. We've talked a lot this year that, we've played close with Tulane. We lost by 2. We had a 2-point conversion with 50 seconds left, and we just came up short. We played pretty good at Auburn. They had to play their starters the entire game. We outscored them in the second half of that one. We played okay at Auburn. We played pretty good at a really good North Texas team a couple of weeks ago. We had a lull against Coastal Carolina, but it looks like Coastal might actually end up being a little bit better than we initially thought. We went to overtime with Troy. Troy's been pretty good so far this year. We lose by 1 against Arkansas State, which we owe those guys after now back-to-back years with a walk-off field goal. We've been close in pretty much every game this year, and the guys are really sick of hearing that. They're sick of hearing everyone, oh, you played well. Oh, you came up short. It's okay. You'll get them next time. The guys are sick of that nonsense. They're ready to get some wins, and they got one last week. That felt pretty darn good to get it on a Thursday night, national television, a game where we were rolling, hit a lull, gave up the lead, and found a way to get the lead back and win the football game and finish it out. That was really, really encouraging for the guys. And just for their mental psyche, they needed that. They needed that game to say, there it is. Now, we've been saying all year, like I was just talking about, we've been saying that, if we can just get one win, we can kind of get this thing rolling and really see this team go. We've got the one win. It's now put up or shut up time now for us. So if we are going to get this thing rolling, we got to follow it up with another good game here this week. It's not going to be easy, like you were saying there. There's some desperation in the air for both teams. It might be unspoken in the field house for the Jags right now, but if it goes sideways here on Saturday, and you're playing for pride the rest of the way, and we don't want to be doing that. We're trying to keep that bowl streak alive, very similar to the Cajuns as well. And so I think it's going to be a really good, fun football game here on Saturday because, like we talked early on, it's a little bit of a regional rivalry in there a little bit. Both teams are playing for their season. It's going to be like a Game 7 type matchup here on Saturday, so it should be fun. The weather looks like it's going to be great. 2:30 kickoff is going to be awesome. I love that we've got a 2:30 kickoff on campus with some really, really good weather. And so it should be fun. It should be a heck of a football game. If you're just a fan of college football, this should be a really, really good one. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens when we roll it out there. I'm curious which version of South Alabama shows up. It's going to be the one we saw with the vertical offense against Georgia State last week, or if it's going to be the conservative one we saw the week before that against Arkansas State. So it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And it should be a lot of fun, whichever side you're on it. It should be a really good football game.
Well, Cajun fans like to have fun, which means there's going to be some Cajun fans traveling to Mobile. Of course, that trip is very familiar for us. I've made the trip to Mobile a few times when the Cajuns have taken on the Jags, both in baseball and football. So we can expect some Cajun fans to drive down I-10 East. Quick 4-hour drive to Mobile. Talk to us. Talk to Cajun Nation, the ones who are going this weekend. Tell us a little bit about Mobile, the hot spots, the restaurants you recommend. What are some things that Cajun fans can do while taking a trip to Mobile for this matchup?
First off, I love Cajun Nation. I love you guys. Y'all are my favorite fan base in the conference, outside of Jags, of course. But
thank you.
I love anytime we go over to Lafayette, and I've been told vehemently every time, Lafayette, not Lafayette, Lafayette. When you go over there.
Right. That's right.
And I love going over there. I love how passionate the fans are. I love how hospitable the fans are, for better or for worse. Before the game, y'all are great. After the game, y'all are great. When that game starts, y'all hate our guts, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
and I love it. I love it. I love how y'all can flip that switch and have a good time. And I'm really looking for, I love when y'all come to town. The Cajun fans travel very well, that we notice it. I know that y'all know it, but we notice it. We love that y'all come to town. If you're making the trip over here on Friday, it's Halloween, which obviously it never lines up that it's on a Friday. It never lines up that it's also the night before a home football game. And it's also homecoming this week, and it's also Hall of Fame week. So we've got a lot going on campus coming up this week. The town itself should be pretty fun if you're coming into town on Friday. The main hot spots are downtown, which is about 15, 20 minutes away from campus. There are plenty of hotels. There's tons of really good restaurants, good bars downtown. On Halloween, it should be a whole lot of fun downtown. The street should be decorated. Folks should be having a good time down there, which I know Cajun fans know all about having a good time. And so I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff to do down there. On game day itself, the kind of perimeter around campus, I highly recommend Hero Sports Bar, which is literally across the street from campus. It's a great little sports bar. They've got a spinach and crawfish dip that is phenomenal as an appetizer over there. They've got great wings too. plenty of spots if you got time, maybe after the game, if you're staying afterwards, down on the causeway, some really good seafood about 30 minutes away from campus. And yeah, if you're just looking for a sports bar, we've got plenty around campus and in the area as well. But there's stuff to do over here. If you're not from Mobile, there's stuff to do. There's some touristy stuff. We're obviously down on the coast, and so we're near the water. There's stuff to do, and so that's exciting. And I'm looking forward to seeing some red and black over there in that that southeast end zone sections we've got over there. It should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. And I'm sure a lot of fans who make the trip will have a blast. They always do. And we always have a bunch of Cajun alumni who kind of live along the coast as well. So
if folks are driving over too and they're looking for some parking, I know it's always the hot topic of where to park if you're coming into town. We have several lots that are labeled as blue lots on our website on usajaguars.com/tickets that you can pay on game day and pull up and park in actually on campus. We've got a free shuttle on campus as well at the bell tower, so you can hop on there. It runs throughout the game and post game as well, and it's not a bad walk. It's about a 10-15 minute walk, pretty much anywhere from the parking over to the stadium. And again, the weather should be nice. Shouldn't be walking through a ton of humidity or anything like that. So it should be an overall good day to come over and catch a football game.
Awesome. Should be perfect fall weather. Perfect fall weather for a good college football game. So JT, one more question I got before I let you go.
Yep.
You're going to be on the airwaves. You're the voice of the Jags. Where can we find you come kickoff at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday?
Yeah, if y'all are sick of listening to old Jay Walker over there. No, of course, I love Jay. No, if you want to catch our broadcast, we're available in two spots locally in Mobile, Sports Talk 99.5 and 96.1 The Rocket. You can search either of those on iHeartRadio. And also this weekend, we're also available on Sirius XM channel 992 as well. You can get it in the car or on the free Sirius XM app as well. So a couple of different spots there, but again, locally terrestrial 99.5 and 96.1. Search it on iHeartRadio or on Sirius XM channel 992.
And tell us where we can find you on social media.
Yeah, main spot is over on Twitter. I'm at JT Crabtree USA. I'll post some listen links there. Some little pregame video stuff that actually myself and Pat Greenwood, who's our associate AD for broadcast operations, he's got the call on ESPN Plus this weekend. We'll give a little preview breakdown, a quick little video. We'll actually we'll show some video highlights from some previous matchups between the Jags and the Cajuns as well. So we'll have all that over on Twitter, on X now. It's JT Crabtree USA.
Awesome stuff. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the voice of the Jags and friend of the Rage and Review pod. That's Mr. JT Crabtree. JT, thanks so much for coming hang out with me today. And I'll tell you, I would say good luck Saturday. I'll tell you this. Good luck the rest of the season outside of Saturday. How's that sound?
There you go. That's fair. That is fair. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, JT. Appreciate it as always, my friend. Hey, and don't be a stranger. Come back and visit with us anytime.
You bet. You bet. Happy to be on.
All right. Well, not Brett Benoit seems to be missing.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think my camera got spooked, so I'm going to restart this. But I do want to turn it over to Coach Dez over there because JT gave some great insight into the South Alabama offense. Which one will we see this weekend is the question. Obviously, they came back down big against Georgia State, as he mentioned, kind of aired it out, had a little bit of success there. Talk to us a little bit more about what you think offensively for the Jags this weekend.
No, they're definitely going to be run heavy, as he mentioned. I mean, they're led by their bell cow, Kentrell Bullock. I mean, he is a 4-star transfer from Ole Miss, and he's just he's all over the field. They hand it to him every time that it's convenient for them. He's their primary workhorse. He's their leading rusher. On the season, he has 144 carries for 681 yards and 8 touchdowns. They do have 2 running backs behind him that'll split some carries consistently, but Kentrell Bullock that's their offense with Davenport. They do run a run-heavy, multiple spread offense. They lost Gio Lopez and Fluff Bothwell to the portal last year. That was the 2 guys that led their offense. But they're showing a strong commitment to the run game this year. And that's that's paired with a very highly efficient passing game as well. Not very much unlike what we do. I mean, especially in the last 2 to 3 games, we started committing to the run, and we're going to hit you at times with some passes as well. So this is an offense that's going to seem eerily similar to what we do, with the Cajuns at times. They're 87th in points per game, 25.3, and they're 68th in the country in yards per game with 378.6, excuse me. A couple of other notes, because you guys know I love giving rankings and stuff like that. They're currently 108th in the country in passing offense, 183.3 yards per game, but they do convert 40.7% of their third down. So they are fairly decent on keeping the sticks moving, when they get in trouble. But that's going to be, and I'm going to get to it in a second, a key to the game for me, for the Cajuns defense, is getting them into third and long situations and making them one-dimensional. We have to limit their running ability and really get Davenport uncomfortable. He has thrown 4 interceptions this year, but as JT mentioned, though, they've gone 3 games without turning the ball over. That's got to change. If the Cajuns want to end this losing streak, we're going to have to force turnovers, which, fortunate for us, we've done a really good job of in the last month or so. So we got to get them to break their 3-game streak of not turning the ball over. That's going to be a big key. Put them in third and longs, get pressure. Here's another thing. Their offensive line has been a concern this year. They've given up 16 sacks in 8 games. Not very good, not great. So there is a window there to get to the quarterback. And that's going to, of course, lead to potential interceptions. So that's just a couple of notes that I have offensively behind what he said. Very good breakdown of their of that South Alabama Jag offense. But yeah, expect a heavy dose of run. Expect a lot of shades of what we do as Cajun fans that we see week in and week out, because they run it. It's very similar, if I'm being honest with you guys.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about that is they do have a 3-headed monster that JT brought up, and the one thing that kind of makes me a little nervous this weekend is how he said they're actually clicking in the last couple of weeks, instead, because in the beginning they were struggling, they couldn't really get on the board, and then all of a sudden these last couple of weeks they've really had some good games. Last week, I believe, Cole. I want to say Davenport threw for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he threw it to 2 receivers who really don't get the ball as often. They're not the main guys.
Yeah, listen, G, he accounted for just under 300 yards and had 3 touchdowns by himself last week. It was easily his best game of the season, when it comes in terms of total offense for a quarterback.
Could not have come at the worst time for us, right when they start to click.
I got nothing. I was arrested. Had to go speak about my incident at the Teague, and now I'm back. So I'm lost. I think we were getting to defense. I'll let one of you guys take it. Whoever wants to talk about the defense for the Jags coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the defense. So going to South Alabama's defense, they overall run a 4-2-5 formation. As you heard in the interview, they do like to play a multiple front, especially 4-3 on short yardage. They've been running a 4-3 more often than not. But they like to play 4-down linemen. That's kind of their main thing. Sometimes they'll go to the 3-3-5, as JT mentioned. Their defensive coordinator, Will Wyndham, is on his 2nd year with Major Applewhite since he's taken the job. Right now in total defense, they're 81st in total defense, giving up an average of 377 yards a game. Their rush defense is ranked 122. Giving up 194 yards a game, and their pass defense is actually 24th in the country, giving up 183 yards per game. So that actually, the way I'm looking at it, I think we need to use our rushing attack that we've been using the last couple of weeks to be able to counter that. Scoring defense is 98th in the country. They've given up 29 points per game. On third down, they're 85th, giving up 40.7% of third down conversions. And then red zone defense, actually, and this is something that can actually work for the Cajuns because we struggled to score touchdowns in the red zone. They're 131st in the country, 96.7% average in red zone scoring on defense. And then on fourth down, they're 134th in the country. Now, remember, this is all out of 136 teams. So red zone defense and fourth down conversions, they've given up 83.3% of fourth down conversions. So these are opportunities, especially in short yardage. Maybe within the 5-yard line, that might be maybe an opportunity for us to try to go for it on fourth down a few times and try to get into the end zone, unlike last week against Troy. Starting with their defensive line, they're led by Terrell Johnson. He's a redshirt junior, 6'2", 248 pounds. He leads. He doesn't lead the team in tackle, but on the D line, he leads the team. The D line in tackles, 28 tackles. He has 13 hurries, 2 sacks, and 19 stops. He had 10 tackles last week on the road against Georgia State, which also included an interception. So he's kind of the main go-to guy on the D-line that we have to kind of watch out for. That's not also included on the D-line is Ed Smith, redshirt senior, 6'3", 296. He's got 15 tackles on the year with 14 hurries, no sacks, and 10 stops. And rounding off the defensive line, Tyler Thomas, redshirt sophomore, 6'5", 259 pounds. Big dude. 7 tackles, 10 hurries, 1 sack, and 8 stops. Moving over to the linebacking core real quick, Blaine Myrick, who's a redshirt junior, 6'3", 226. He's got 42 tackles. I believe he leads the team in tackles. 42 tackles, 3 hurries, and 22 stops. And then Darius McKenzie, who also had 10 tackles last week against Georgia State. Redshirt senior, 6'2", 230, 41 tackles, 3 hurries, and 16 stops. And last but not least, rounding off the linebacking core, Dalton Hughes. He is a senior, 6'3", 227, 10 tackles, 3 hurries, and 5 stops. And moving over real quickly to the defensive backs, we've got starting cornerback, redshirt junior, Javon Henderson. He's 5'10", 190, 5 tackles. And he's also had 5 key stops as well as 3 pass breakups. He's on one side of the corner. And then the other side at cornerback, Nehemiah Chandler, redshirt freshman, 6'2", 185, good size. He's got 7 tackles on the year, 7 key stops, 8 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. So that's your 2 starting cornerbacks. And pretty much rounding off the secondary, Wesley Miller, who had 11 tackles last week against Georgia State. Redshirt junior, 5'11", 193 pounds, 12 tackles on the year, 12 big stops, 1 pass breakup, as well as 1 interception. So again, they run a 4-2-5 overall. You'll see them run a multiple package every once in a while, 4-3 on short yardage. They've got some decent speed from what I've seen with their secondary. But just like their offense, they're clicking in the last couple of weeks. If you look at their game against Arkansas State, they gave up 15 points. Could have won that game, lost it on a last-second field goal. And then last week against Georgia State, kind of like the Cajuns, they've kind of let teams get back into the game. But against Georgia State, they had a key interception in the second half to pretty much clinch it for the Jaguars. So a team trying to find an identity right now. They're 2-6, going through the same thing Louisiana's going through, but very challenging game. They are a team that's getting better, so the Cajuns are going to have to be on top on their A game to get this win in Mobile.
Appreciate it, Jerry. We're going to get to the depth chart and the injury report in just a second. Of course, we usually have the ambassador. He's recovering from whatever injury he suffered at the previous game, so best wishes to him. We don't want to bother him coming out here midweek when he's trying to get better. So appreciate him, and hopefully he's watching. And if he is, we wish him the best. But guys, before we get to the depth chart, Dez did have some comments. Thanks to our buddy and good friend Will Heron, and News 15 was at the presser tonight and got some great info from Dez, including what the injury report looks like. In fact, I think that's the first question that we have from Dez this evening.
Jones had to have surgery, so he'll be out for the rest of the year. Kind of did something to his knee last Thursday at the end of practice, so he'll be out. Matt Broussard will not be available for this game, but we feel really good about Bryant. Practice well today, so that allows us to kind of move some things over. Move Mackey to tackle and put Jax back at guard. So that'll be the plan right there as far as injuries go. I don't know if there's a whole lot more to update there.
And speaking of Mackey, well, we're not going to speak with Mackey. We're going to talk about that in a bit because, again, there were some changes on the line that I think will benefit us, but we'll get into that in just a second. Let's talk about the playoff run. And when we talk about playoff run, of course, like Jerry mentioned in the interview before, this is kind of like a playoff at this point. We can't afford to lose a game the rest of the season. Let's see what Dez has to say about that.
You mentioned this is a playoff game, kind of is. I mean, you've been here before a couple
couple years ago we were in this situation. So does it seem like the guys kind of get that and are up to that challenge? They get it, you know. I mean, they know it. You know, I mean, I think, you know, the thing I'd say is that these guys have been really consistent in the way they work, you know, and that's the thing that's like the hardest thing for me is that they do things the right way throughout the week. I mean, they show up and they work really hard. That's the hardest thing, you know, is you're not getting the results that you want, you know, for whatever reason. You know, but that's you know, that's kind of the way life is sometimes. But I mean, yeah, this week they know what it is. I mean, they're working with intent. You know, I mean, they're doing things. You know, they're working hard at practice. You know, as much as we can do physically. You know, we've had to tailor that quite a bit. Obviously, you know, more than probably what I'm comfortable with. But I think out of necessity. You know, I mean, yeah, they get it. I mean, they know what's at stake. You know, we got a really good senior group that, you know, these guys really want to get another game for. You know, I mean, that's the reality of it is, you know, their careers are coming to an end here pretty fast, and it's been a tough year to end it on so far, right? You know, finding a way to make a, you know, like I said, a playoff run would be a really good way to send them out, and our guys know that and they understand that. So, you know, the work has been there, but I can't sit here and say like it hasn't in other weeks. You know, it's just sometimes the it coming to fruition on game day, you know, just coming up a little bit short in a handful of plays. So, you know, we'll be ready. We'll play hard. You know, we'll go out there and you know, we're going to take it down to the wire, and we just got to make some plays there.
Also, Des spoke about Walker Howard playing. I have not previewed this question, but I wonder if it has anything to do with whether or not we will see him this week.
Yeah, I mean, the plan is, you know, I mean, to try to get him a series or two in the games. You know, the plan was to try to get 2 last week. You know, obviously, you know, just what happened was unfortunate, and China didn't get back to it. But yeah, I mean, that would be ideal for his development and for, you know, for our team moving forward in case some things happen, for him to be able to continue to get some experience.
I'll comment on that later. Yeah. Thanks to Will Heron and News 15 and partnering with us on this. What's cool is that we asked him to ask a few questions. In fact, Josh had a few questions written down. He actually asked the questions to Des. One of them was about the plan without Caden playing this week. Let's see what Des has to say.
With no Caden, can the other guys be the receivers that they kind of are, or the other tight ends, or do their roles change a little bit? Yeah, it's kind of the juggling act a little bit. You know, I mean, you know, we're not, you know, it's no secret we're not throwing it as effectively as you'd like to, you know, where you could say, well, Caden's out, we'll do these things. I think you have to balance it a little bit, you know, try to do things that they do well. But still, you know, for us to be able to generate offense, we've just had to be kind of creative in some of the things that we're doing and the way that we're trying to run it and stuff like that. So they got to be able to do those things for us, and they can. You know, I mean, they've you know, they both practiced well this week. It's, you know, it's a little different strengths and weaknesses, but you know, they've got to be able to do those things for us in the run game too. You know, I mean, we're not going to throw it 50 times. I hope. You know, I mean, that's certainly not the plan. So, you know, they're going to have to be able to do those things for us, and they can.
Des talks about where Jax Harrington will play on the line this week.
Obviously, is a guard more than he is a tackle. Is that make him more comfortable / make the running game back more where it was, or what kind of?
It's kind of what we're hoping, is that it gives us a little bit more power, you know, inside, you know, in the the center guard area. You know, last week we felt like that was kind of, we struggled to get a little push inside right there. So getting him back in there, I think, is a good thing for us. You know, it gets a guy in there that's played in there that's, you know, used to kind of playing with pad level, and, you know, got a lot of, you know, generates a lot of power. So yeah, the idea is hopefully we can get some push on the inside that we felt like, you know, having to move him around, we've been lacking a little bit. You know, that's the plan.
And finally, final question that was asked of Des tonight about Jake St. Andre.
Jake St. Andre, we're going to see more of him.
Jake's been playing a lot. I mean, you know, I think a lot of it's personnel driven a little bit too, you know, on defense with him playing, but Jake's been playing well. So, I mean, he's going to continue to play a lot for us. Yeah.
Well, that was a quick and simple answer. Boys, here we go. You see, you got me, Ronnie, with the stuff. Maybe I should be. By the way, watching Coach Dez on my left and Coach Dez in the presser, that was some good stuff. But boys, let's talk about some of the things Dez said tonight, including his commitment to play Walker in a series or two again this week. So we can be aggravated when it happens, but we know it's coming. I'll start with you, Coach Dez. Here we go again, man.
No, I'm glad you started with me, and I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. If you're gonna play him, that's fine. And me and Jerry had this conversation on the phone before the show started. But when you do play him in a situation where you don't actively have the momentum in the ball game. If Lunch goes in there and he has 2 or 3 and outs, and you could tell that the offense is stalling, and you want to try to create a spark with bringing in Walker, do it. And let's just cut to the chase here and quit all the BS. We're a 2-6 football team. It's going to take all but a miracle to win out here. I want to say, based on ESPN's projections, we have a 0.3 chance to win out and go 6-6 and potentially make a bowl. I don't care if you play Walker. I don't care if you play Lunch. I don't care if you play Bill at this point. It would take all but a miracle for us to rattle off 4 games in a row. And listen, do I want that? Yeah. I'm a diehard Cajun fan in my heart. Nothing would make me happier than for us to salvage this season and go 6-6 and have a bowl appearance. But in the grand scheme of it, it doesn't matter who you put under center. Do what you want at this point, because we speculated for the past month on how he should be used, or I should say the past couple of weeks. He wasn't healthy a month ago, but the past couple of weeks on how he should be used, when he should be used, and everything we think is out the window. He gets brought in at the most inopportune times and makes the most inopportune plays. So my only thing is, if you want to play him, but don't do it when there's actively momentum on your side and Lunch is seemingly, moving the football at will. I'm going to be honest with you guys. What South Alabama does poorly, we do very well, and that's running the football. I expect the game plan that we saw last week against Troy to be very similar to what we see this week. Now, I'm hoping that we spread the ball out carries-wise between the 2 main running backs and Lunch. I don't want Lunch getting 23 carries and my other guys are getting 9 apiece. I want it to be kind of more spread. But the bottom line is, it's going to come down to red zone offense. We're going to have to get creative. You cannot sit there and kick field goals. Kicking field goals does not win college football games. It doesn't win any kind of football games, honestly. You're going to have to take some chances. You're going to have to put the ball in the end zone. But here's what I've noticed the last couple of weeks. In the middle of the field and on the opposite side of the field, we do a very good job running the football. We do. I think we're averaging like 5.5 yards a rush. It's whenever we get into the red zone that things start to bog down and slow down, and that's where we're getting beat, is not putting the ball in the end zone. But don't be surprised when you see a very similar offensive attack that we saw last week against Troy, this week against South Al.
Josh, we're going to get into the fan reaction from Dez's comments and just everything that's going on right now, like what's being said on social media. But I do want to ask you regarding the 2 quarterback thing. Is this just to keep guys happy on the roster? Is that what's happening? I would understand like KG was saying, if we have nothing to lose at this point because we're not going to get to 6 wins. I mean, let's face it. But so at this point, what does it matter? But before that, we had a lot on the line, and he still insisted on doing it. So why do you think that is the case?
He's talking about the development of a 4th-year player.
That is what I wanted to say.
Who's not going to probably be on the roster next year. So what are we doing? We're developing a guy who's probably not going to be here next year.
Or Lunch may get hurt. Okay, so we have 2 other quarterbacks. Or we have Walker can still start if he gets hurt.
Cajun Cougars 100% correct. Players want Lunch. It's obvious at this point. I mean, they play for the guy. This is not a shot at Walker. I got nothing against the guy. I have no reason not to like him. I'm not getting on here killing the quarterback. You have to move and evolve with the team. And yeah, his completion percentage is like 52% on the season. I get it. He's also, again, based on what this coaching staff told us, he was the 3rd-string quarterback. He's been the only spark offensively that we've had this year. He's the only guy who's generating any amount of rush threat That's not Zylan or Bill. You know what I mean? Like he's the reason why we're in games. They've dumped the entire playbook on his shoulders. I've said that 1,000 times. We're talking about developing a guy who's probably going to hang it up at the end of the year. I just don't understand. And again, I know that Des is probably thinking that nobody is following the program like we do. He's probably thinking I'm just going to get one over. Kind of pissed me off that he didn't answer any of the questions that he was asked. He didn't really answer anything. Like the question was, the left tackle that you put out there, 5th-year senior, graded out as a 0 on PFF. He was a 0 grade on PFF. Was there ever any thought to put Jax, your most senior-laden, most snaps, most talented, I think, offensive lineman, was there ever any thought to move him to the left side, the blind side tackle, instead of what you did? Because I promise you, Jax wouldn't have graded out as a 0 at left tackle, the most premium spot on your offensive line. That was the question. And we didn't get really far into it, but he didn't really address that. He kind of said we're going to shuffle a little bit. I hate to hear that Matt Broussard is going to be out because he had his best game as a Cajun, I think, this past week. The grade says that he had his best game as a Cajun this past week. So I'm sad that he didn't answer the questions because I thought they were legitimate questions. As far as the quarterback thing goes, it's a mess. We've created another mess just like we did the first 2 years that he was here. Thank goodness that Ben Wooldridge was the consummate professional that he was last year. It allowed us to win 10 games. But when Dez is left to his own devices, I mean, 3 out of 4 years don't lie, dude. It's a pattern. It's not an accident.
Jerry, I'm going to get to I'm going to go straight to the injury report now because I do think, there's a lot that we need to talk about as far as injuries and depth chart. So let me go ahead and share what the injury situation looks like going into the weekend. A long list of guys that are out. Excuse me, I have the wrong thing up. Bear with me 1 second, guys. I had too many Shawses up today. But we're going to talk about the players that are injured this weekend, and here we go. All right, now we can see it. So Isaiah Alexander, Notori Brown, George Jackson. We know that Jacoby Isom's out for the season. Colin Jacob is out this weekend. I know he played last week and had a couple of tackles. Matt Broussard is questionable along with Caden. I don't expect either one of them to play this weekend. As well as Xavier Brown. I think he'll be out as well from what I've heard. And then Jalen Clark and Bryant Williams. Jerry, the one thing that stands out to me on the depth chart this week is that they did move Mackey to the right side, the right tackle. And then you've got Caden Morrow at left guard and Bryant Williams at left tackle. I'm with you. I'm with Josh. They desperately needed to make that adjustment during the game last week, but did not. So, Jack's still on the right side, but Mackey back at right tackle, which I think may suit him well. I don't know, and I'll go back to you in a second, Josh, because I feel like he graded better on the right side of the line earlier in the season. But Jerry, anything that jumps out to you besides what I just mentioned on the depth chart this week?
Not really. I would have liked, and you guys can have an opinion on this as well or give your input. I would have wished that Mackey and Jax would have switched, and Mackey would have been put at guard, and Jax would have been put at tackle. Last week on the left side, as Josh mentioned, he scored a 0 in pass blocking. That is just, I don't know how you do that. And I don't want to bash the kid, but I don't know how you do that. So I'm glad they're making some moves on the offensive line. Bryant Williams at left tackle. I still probably, in that case, I probably would have preferred Jax on the left tackle just because he's more senior laden, he's more experienced. I just think he would have been a better fit. But if they're going to keep both on the right side, personally, I probably would have switched Mackey with Jax. That's just me.
Josh, I think we'll be in good shape with the tight end position with Trey and Brock, both starting this weekend. Looking at the defensive side, you've got Fitzgerald West Jr. on the line with Kreider and Lawson. Elam at the star, Flowers at corner, which I think is good. Tyree at safety. Your thoughts on the defense, or actually your thoughts on the entire depth chart this week?
Well, I was going to say, Jerry commented about what I said about the grading out as a 0 for Mackey. Look, everybody has to understand that just because they go from right tackle to left tackle, it's not like playing the same position. It's like going from first base to center field. It's a totally different situation, which is why I asked the question, was there ever any thought to do that? Because I was looking for a real answer. Because I don't know if the skill set translates from the right side to the left side. Maybe his footwork doesn't translate. That was the whole point of the question. But yeah, this is a great point by Bryce. I'd like to see Teddy Gollick get some playing time as well, and this might give them the opportunity to get him some reps. But I've liked Trey in his short amount of time on the field. In fact, I would have hoped to this point in the season that he got more snaps. But no, they're starting him at the H, which is great. And then, of course, Brock Chappell. I mean, dude, his size is undeniable. He's been involved in the passing game a little bit more down the stretch, which is great. I think we're fine at tight end. Look, do I want Caden? Of course we want Caden. Caden's the best tight end on his football team. But I think that we're in good hands with the guys that are going to step up. On the defensive side, we're starting Fitzgerald West Jr. again. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me. All Kadarius Miller did was come out and have his best game as a defensive lineman for the Raging Cajuns last week after he lost his job. I mean, the guy was a stud across the board. He did everything well. Had his first sack of the season, I think. Just played really well, balled out. Jordan Lawson, I was so tough on him early in the season because I didn't think he was playing well. He had his best grade as a Cajun overall, and I thought he popped early on the screen. I think it was very obvious. He got an early sack, played the run really well. It was great to see him actually playing football out there. Jalen Kreider, another guy who has earned his starting role. I'm glad to see that he's continued that starting role. The coaches continue to give him the opportunity. Cam Whitfield is going to be at the jack position this week. We got to have a conversation about Cam Whitfield. And I mentioned it in the post game. This guy has been an absolute ghost. He was a playmaker last year. He was involved. He was all over the place. If he has some sort of injury we don't know about, maybe that's a whole other conversation. But the fact that he hasn't been in the mix and hasn't really been a talking point on this show over the 8 weeks that we've played is a mystery to me. And I'd love to know what the hell's going on with Cam Whitfield. He's out of position many times. He's not, he's not in the mix. I don't get it. What the hell's going on? Terrence Williams is starting at will. I don't understand that at all. He has started at will, and he's seen Jake St. Andre get the bulk of the snaps the last 2 games. So the commitment to this guy starting, and I don't know anything about Terrence Williams personally. I'm sure he's a nice guy. Just hasn't gotten it done. Really bad game last week. Really bad. And the PFF grade bared it out when I went and checked it. I don't know why that's going on, but it is what it is. Elam being at star allows everybody else to play their role. Cortland Flowers, you saw he had a very good game. I thought he had a really strong game, especially in run support. I liked the way he played. Very physical, aggressive. It looked like he was reacting rather than thinking his way through the plays. Jalen Clark started at strong safety last week, and then Tyree Skipper did not start. Colin Jacobs started. I don't know if everybody caught that, but Jalen Clark at strong safety was the best version of Jalen Clark last week. I think that needed to be mentioned, and if they give him the start at strong again, I would support that decision. The only problem is that Colin Jacob is probably out for the year, and he is out for the year. And then Tyree, Skip, if you're going to lose your job, what does that do? Does that light a fire? I mean, damn, dude. It's been a roller coaster. And I'm not sure if he's totally healthy, by the way. I've mentioned this before. He's wearing that knee brace. I don't know if y'all saw that last week, which leads me to believe that he's not totally healthy. I don't know what's going on there, but everything else is where it should be. Brent Gordon Jr. is just a rising star and continues to be, no kidding, the team's best tackler. He's still 4 weeks in a row, the team's highest graded tackler out of the cornerback position. So and those are my thoughts.
I want to give another shout out to Drennan Fight because I thought he did a good job last weekend.
Thank you. That's a great point. And
he made some good plays.
He got almost 40 snaps. It was great to see him out there. Look, he didn't grade super high, but he was in position to make plays, and you can tell that guy's getting better. I want to say this is his last year of eligibility, so I can't project it to next year, but he has gotten better, and he continues to get better. And I think the more that he gets his reps, the more you're going to see him develop, talking about development. But yeah, he was early and often in that game against Troy.
Certainly. Let's talk about because we just heard from Dez, and let's talk about the social media reaction to one, just him as head coach, because there has been a lot of chatter out there, like everybody wants to get rid of Dez, which we keep saying it's not going to happen this year. But there has been a lot of back and forth with the fan base on that. That has been a big topic of conversation. And then on the other side, you have a lot of fans that are defending Dez and saying, well, but, wins and losses that's secondary to everything. It doesn't matter about wins and losses. It matters about the running the program the right way. Results-oriented business, you got to win games. Josh, I know there was something you wanted to discuss in particular, especially about the defense of Dez. Like, it's okay to say, well, I want to give Dez another year. I want to, y'all are crazy. You shouldn't fire him. But the defense, I think a lot of the reasoning behind the defense of his coaching at this point kind of goes beyond that. And I want you to talk about what you've seen and your thoughts on it.
So we're going into the straw man argument that people have been creating about how great of a guy he is?
That is what we're getting into.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, well, and I told this to Jerry, and I thought it was something to bring up. I can't take you seriously with the Neo glasses, I got to be honest with you, but it's tough
07. It's the 07 thing, so.
It's tough, but I'm going to try to be serious. I told him this on the phone today. A lot of the anytime you see like a groundswell of support or negativity in one way or the other, typically there's a centralized message that they are, that group of people are responding to. And being that there's really no other centralized area for Cajun sports, I always just take the blame on ourselves. I always think that maybe it came from something we said on the show or somebody called in or whatever. So I've been trying to, really looking in the mirror on this and think, was it something that we maybe was overly critical about Dez, or maybe some of the callers were overly critical, whatever. And I quickly realized that somebody has created this straw man argument that because we disagree with football decisions and strategies and whatever, that somehow translates into the fact that Dez is not a guy of integrity and he's not a good man. I don't know if we have Falgu's tweet to put up there, but Richie Falgu, who was a good player under Bustle, part of the broadcast and pregame for not Learfield, but, I think it was 1420 back then, a guy who's a nice guy who I like and respect, sends out a tweet about, it doesn't matter the wins and the losses, this, that, and the other, and I'm paraphrasing, that's why I wanted to put it up, but the losses and the wins don't really matter. I'm going to have Dez's back because he's a man of integrity. He's a man, he's a good man, and he's a leader and all this stuff. And I agree with all of those things. I think that he's a good man and he's a leader and he has integrity, and we've never questioned that. Never once. In fact, I don't know if Richie watches the show, but for 2 years, nobody wanted to give Dez any credit for anything at all. But on this show, we backed him after every loss, after losing to Rice, after losing to ULM, after getting our freaking doors kicked in about 4 times that season. And there's Richie. For everybody who's watching, if you're listening on the pod, I apologize, but go look up Richie Falgu's at Falgu, Falgout. Go look up his tweet. It says, "I'm always going to have this man's back," meaning Dez. He had mine and multiple other teammates every single day. Guess what? He's even better as a coach. He gets to lead young men in the city every day, and he doesn't take that lightly. W's and L's, wins and losses, are short-lived. Integrity is a lifetime. How come we never had those posts when Napier went 6-7 before we won our bowl game? How come we never had that conversation? Why is it that when we disagree with clearly obvious bad decisions on the football field, it becomes, well, we're taking personal shots at Dez, or nobody is saying that the guy is not a man of integrity. Nobody is saying he's a bad guy. Nobody's saying he's selfish. This is a straw man argument to create some sort of a groundswell of what, support for the guy? Nobody can tell me 3 of the 4 seasons that he's been the head coach, you haven't watched these football games and thought to yourself, yeah, that's troubling. Yeah, that's concerning. This is very Marlin-esque, and I know it's easy to say that, but when we start talking about the integrity of the coach, we're getting away from the critique of the on-field performance. And by the way, it's a bottom-line business. We all know that. Wins and losses absolutely matter, Richie. They do. If they don't matter, pay me $1 million to go have integrity and rack up the L's, because they matter. This entire athletic department, who is broke, by the way, relies on this football program to create revenue so that other people can play sports, so that the girls can go play sports, so that the club teams have a little money, so that this is important, very important. And nobody's arguing that Dez doesn't have integrity. Nobody's saying he's a bad guy. We're talking about everything that he has put on film, on his resume to this point. 3 out of the years have been losing seasons. We defended him in year 1 and 2. It would be completely asinine for us to be making the same excuses in year 4 that we made in year 1. Did you make rookie mistakes in year 1? Yeah. We even said willing to give him a pass because of the horrible situation he took over for Napier. In year 4, you don't get that pass. In year 4, I get to look at you and say, why on God's green earth are you pulling a quarterback that has scored on 2 of his first 3 drives in the game? You're up 14-7 against a decent team, okay, on the road, and you put in Walker and he throws another pick 6. We get to question that. We get to say, hey, that probably doesn't make any sense. Never in the history of ever have people watched a football game and then just, don't talk about it. We don't talk about football. No, we just watch the game and whatever. It's a soap opera, right? We just move on. Never, ever. There's a $1 billion industry on post games and message boards and social media conversations. $1 billion industry on just reactions to watching football. So the idiots on Facebook talking about, oh, well, we just got a bunch of armchair quarterbacks and a bunch of experts. Dude, do you know how much of a lazy, stupid comment that is? Everybody discusses the game. Everybody has an opinion. Just because you can't look at a clip and tell what you're looking at doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it, because this is what we're here to do. This is why 1,500 people after a post-game show or on a post-game show are tuning in to watch what we have to say. They're not doing that so we can not talk about the ball game. They're not doing that so we don't talk about pivotal plays. Maybe you could have maybe you could get in the arena and have an opinion. That's what we're doing here. Don't be lazy and say, "Oh, well, we got too many experts, too many coaches." Just shut up, man. Either participate or don't. But don't start this whole, well, he's a good man, he gets to work on time, he graduate players. Got a lot of Marlin in that. Got a lot of Marlin and, oh, he's a leader of men and he has integrity. We need to stop that. That's a loser-ass mentality that we're very familiar with. It happened in Bustle, it happened for Marlin, and it's creeping into the Dez years. And I'm going to be honest with you, if I'm Dez, I don't want that conversation being had because it makes me look like I can't take the heat. I got to get my former players to come and say, oh, well, you know, I'm supporting my guy because Dez is a great dude. How many times have I gotten on here? All of y'all, even our coach, our callers in the post game. We love Dez. We want him to succeed. We're rooting for him. We love the fact that he's one of us. He's a former player. He's from here. We've said that ad nauseum. Don't start with the straw man bullshit. It's bullshit. Stop covering up for the bad decisions, the bad takes, the clearly bad temperament when he's asked reasonable questions by a guy that wouldn't harm a fly in Cody Juneau, and really gave a poor answer because the offensive line, despite the injuries, had been playing great to that point, and it bears out in the PFF grade. We went and looked at it, okay? That had to be talked about, because when you start seeing these, and it's not just Richie, I pointed him out because his tweet was just like the embodiment of all of this. There are more out there. And so, like I said, people that I care about, I like, I respect. People that contribute to our show. People that we're in chat groups with. This is not a shot at you personally. These are the conversations you have to have when you're 2-6 in year 4. There's nothing wrong with talking about that.
Josh, they across the basin just fired a coach with a winning record that's 5-3 on the season and paid him $50 million to go away because he can't win a natty. But we're stuck here saying, well, you know, four losing seasons, not a big deal. You know, it's okay. He graduates players. And that's why the team across the basin has the success they have, because they have expectations. It's time for our fan base to stop with again, like you said, perfectly said, Josh, we love the guy. We want him to do well. If we were if we were, instead of being 2-6, we were 6-2, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. But the fact is we're not. And it's 3 seasons out of 4 that we're not meeting expectations whatsoever. So at what point can you criticize him? Never? Can we never criticize guy, Jerry? I mean, is that who we are now? Now we're just like, well, he's a nice guy, so you can't do anything about it. Screw results. If you're nice, you're good.
Well, again, we're not a charity. This is not the United Way. You know, we're the UL Raging Cajuns, not the UW Raging Cajuns. We're not the United Way Raging Cajuns. This is not a charity. This, you know, we always talk about our CAF and investments. We talk about getting our money's worth. You just built a $65 million stadium. And part of the return on the money that you pay for the premium seats and the suites and the expensive tailgating, which we paid for, by the way, part of the return on what we pay for, we expect a good product on the field. This is not, hey, a feel-good story to go watch a football game. We want to win. We expect to win. And look, sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. But when to Josh's point, the straw man argument comes up of, well, the coach is a good man. We never said Mike wasn't a good man. Mike's always been a good man. I don't even know where that came from. You know, he's a man of integrity. Yes, we know that. That's part of the reason why he got the job, is because of his character. So this idea that all of a sudden when you lose games that we're questioning his character or we're questioning the man that he is, we know that he's a good guy. So I don't understand why all of a sudden that just creeps into the conversation when we're not performing at the rate we should be performing. We were picked to win the West early on in the season. We were picked to host the conference championship by some of these prognosticators and some of these writers. We hosted a conference championship last year. We were ranked right outside the top 25 until we lost that game to South Alabama. So to all of a sudden bring this argument in of people questioning his integrity and all this stuff, to me is ridiculous. And I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to bring up a point that he's a good man, but nobody said he wasn't. And like you said, Josh, and this is scary, bringing that. There's a reason why we have a new basketball coach. Bringing that Bob Marlin-esque attitude of he graduates players and he's a good guy and he pays attention to me, like that. You can't win. You can't succeed with that attitude. What is it that you used to say, Josh? Like, well, he graduates players. Well, that's part of your job. You don't reward, like you said, you don't reward people for showing up to work.
Now that's not even part of it. Now we don't care because they're not going to be here. So with the transfer portal, like, guys won't graduate here. Maybe they will if they're a senior.
But I'm just going to say it, like that type of attitude that we actually just got rid of in another sport, the fact that it's creeping into football and the fact that it's creeping into the one sport that drives the bus, we have to be very careful with that attitude. Especially right now, if you look at the budget, you look at the finances, you look at the fact that we need to produce revenue, that type of attitude scares people off and scares people away, because this is not a charity. This is not feel-good charity. There is a return on what the money that we pay for. Again, $65 million stadium, you know, $900,000 coaching salary, right? Some of these assistant coaches are making $500,000 a year. And a lot of it comes from our donations to our CAF and our input and our money. So as somebody who pays into these systems, I expect a return. And a 2-6 record in boneheaded in-game decisions that we've seen in the last 3 weeks is not acceptable. I'm sorry. If you don't like that, well, too bad. We have a right to express our opinions. We have a right to express our minds. And if you don't like that, then I'm sorry. Like, you know, that's just too bad.
Coach Des, I'll give you the final thoughts here because we do have to move on and get to a couple other sports. But your thoughts on the situation with social media and the criticisms people are getting for talking about Des in a negative manner.
Short and sweet. Winning fixes everything. You win in ball games. This ain't happening. You're not having social media arguments on Facebook and X between fans about who should be in the game, what plays should be run, how they should be run. That doesn't happen if you're winning ball games. Secondly, and I'm glad you brought it up just now about 5 minutes ago, you're not winning ball games, you're losing players. In this age of NIL and portal, they're going to jump in the portal and go somewhere else. And half the time, and we've seen it across all sports. We've seen it in baseball. We've seen it in basketball. We're certainly going to see it in football. They don't always have to go up. They'll go side to side. You got kids that'll go to McNeese. You got kids that'll go to Southeastern. You got kids that'll go within the conference. If you're not winning, they're leaving. So I don't care how good of a guy you well, I'm not going to say that. It's a poor choice of words. We have forever said that Mike is a great guy. I mean, I've been following high school sports around here forever. And Mike is a great guy. Mike was a great guy back when he played quarterback here. We all loved him. We love him now. Nobody has ever questioned him as a man, ever. But you can be questioned as the head football coach of a D1 university. When your sport drives the bus for so many other sports in this university, and like you said, club sports, women's sports, we need you to perform. That way we can get the funding. So, and we make a joke about it, guys. There's 4 fans in this university. You got the elites that show up to every game because it's a social event for them. You got the degenerates that is the middle class, the guys that pour their heart and soul into this team, that diagnose things. You got the casuals that'll just tune in when we're winning or when it's convenient for them. And you got the morons. And you can't change the hearts or minds of the morons. And there's a couple of them out there. You got four tiers to this fan base.
Shout out, Jim.
Wow.
You took it.
You said it. Not
anyway,
me.
So short and sweet, winning fixes everything. We've said it 1,000 times. We're not making a coaching change. We are so, what is it, $29 million deficit currently, and a lot of that has to play with athletics. We're not making a coaching change anytime soon unless Todd Graves wants to throw a little bit of a Canes money our way and we can, do something. But I'm not calling for that. I'm hoping Des turns it around because, like I said, it's not an integrity thing, but wins and losses do matter to a smaller D1 university where football drives the bus.
Can I cap it, Nick?
Go ahead.
Every other healthy fan base in this country has real dialogue around what's going on the football field. Every other one. But for some reason, when this fan base starts having real difficult conversations about what's going on the football field, especially when our locals are involved, everybody gets shunned. Everybody gets ostracized. It has to be the only fan base that does this. It is ridiculous. If you want to win, if you want to attract players who want to win, if you want coaches who want to win, you have to be honest with yourself. And if we're being honest with ourselves right now, what we've put on the field is not even close to good enough. We are 2-6. We are 2-6, and this is the 3rd year in a row that we're not going to have a winning. Excuse me, I said that wrong. 3rd year out of 4 years that we are not going to have a winning season. Something has to change. This is year 4. I get to say, when you're making a $900,000 check a year, when RCAF is raising $20 million a year, here's another thing that people haven't talked about. When athletics as a whole has spent $40 million in an annual budget and produced 11, you heard that right. We have spent $40 million in one athletic season, and the revenue is $11 million. Spent 40 to make 11. When those numbers are your athletic reality, I get to be pissed when football is shooting themselves in the foot over and over and over and over. It is the number one economic driver that we have at this school. If we are going to be serious about winning, football has to get it right more often than not. So when it isn't happening, I get to ask the questions.
Agreed. And we will get into the economics part probably on the next show because we are running late. But that is a very important topic, and we're trying to get some experts on the show to talk about it in depth because it sort of goes beyond my brain. You follow that pretty well, Josh, but I think getting somebody on here that's really done the work and looked at the numbers will be very helpful for us. Do want to give a quick look at the basketball team. Cajuns basketball team tonight played an exhibition game against North Texas. They dropped that game by a score of 61-47. Defense certainly played better in the second half, but according to some reports that we're getting from my boy RC, offense just was not doing its thing. You also have to take into consideration North Texas is coming off of a 27-9 season and also made it to the semifinals of the NIT tournament. So they are a pretty good team. We're still trying to figure it out. It's exhibition, and it's not exhibition against Pee Wee minor league Division III school. This is actually some good competition for our guys and what we probably need to kind of figure out what we're going to do when the regular season hits. So we're going to get more into basketball, and I wanted to play, but we're running out of time. Got this great quick interview with the latest commit for the UL basketball team, Christian Bernard, and his dad, Bryson Bernard. And by the way, y'all might know Bryson Bernard, otherwise known as Cupid, as in the Cupid Shuffle. Lafayette native. He came on as well, gave us a little bit of insight into his career, his time at UL, because he was on the track and field team, and also from a father's perspective, what the recruiting process is like and why they chose UL. So that'll be great. We'll play that in a couple of days for all of you. Wish we could have gotten to it tonight, but just don't have the time. Also want to give a shout out. A close match with the women's soccer team. They fell to ULM tonight in that match, 2-1. They were looking good throughout the match. However, they dropped it to ULM. And look, ULM has not lost a conference game this season. They're 10-2-4 overall. They've got a really solid program, and you gotta like what you see, Josh, out of the women's soccer team this year. They're doing some nice things. I think this is a good year for them to kind of get that. Those the experience under their belt, but I think next year is going to be a good season for them.
Cajuns are vastly improved on the pitch. Vastly. We have a couple of freshmen, one being Miku, who had the hat trick last week that we talked about. We've got some good young players. We're peaking at the right time. Like Nick said, I think ULM ended up scoring the go-ahead goal in the 80th, somewhere in the 80th, 79th minute, somewhere in there. But the Cajuns stuck through. And look, ULM is far and away the best team in this league. ODU is probably the second best team in this entire league, and the Cajuns beat them at home last week. So pay attention to the tournament. The Cajuns will be in it. Top 8 teams in the league get there. I think that I think they have an opportunity to win. They're playing good soccer at the right time.
Yeah, and also I just got to give another shout out to the Cajuns water ski team. 12th championship in a row. I mean, I want to say that every week. We don't talk about those ladies and gents enough and all the work they do. I know we've done an interview with the entire team before. That would be great if we could do it again. So fingers crossed we can arrange that. Let me bring my boy, the ghost of Cajun Field. Maybe we should get him to do it in that accent again, or maybe not because it was that bad. But I do want to get to Lane's lines. Lane, I kind of threw it at you. I'm like, are we ready to go? So when you're ready, buddy, go ahead and throw those graphics up there and tell us what you got for picks this coming weekend. Well, first you got to unmute yourself, and then we got to get that back on the stage. There we go.
It's the wrong one anyway.
Oh.
I went 2 for 3 last week. Oregon did not hit the over of 44.5, but I had Alabama winning, and I forgot what the other one was, but I hit that one. Let me share my other one real quick.
Poor Lane. I caught you off guard, man. I'm sorry about that.
Let's see. It's uploading. 1 second. That's not the right one either. I don't know what the hell happened.
All right, just go with it.
So UL and South Alabama, they're at 4.5. Actually, it moved to 4 on the line. It was at 4.5 or 5. Give me 1 second to pull up my stats.
Is that something anybody's surprised? I mean, a 4-point spread to South Alabama.
I kind of was surprised because, I mean, it's South Alabama and they haven't really played well.
Right.
But it's obviously been hit and miss with the Cajuns this year as far as the betting has gone. But in my opinion, I feel like it should have been lower.
If you're 29-22, that's accurate. You should be betting single games, dude. Parlays are for suckers. I'm just telling you. You got to
He
stop
loves
playing
his
them
parlays,
parlays,
man.
Just get you a couple of units and play per game. That's the way to do it.
But this week I've got Georgia -7 against Florida, Vandy with the upset against Texas, and I have the Mississippi State game. It's at 67.5 as the over/under. I'm hitting the under on that one. They're
Wait,
playing Arkansas, I believe.
is Vanderbilt an underdog at Texas?
Yep, they're plus
Wow.
100.
Plus what?
100.
What's the spread? What's the spread?
It wasn't much. It was like 1.5.
Vanderbilt is a far superior team than Texas.
And I'm
Man,
not
they
sure,
do
but I
this all
think-
the time, though, Josh.
I think Arch may have been injured in that game again last week, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
The
He's
memes
one of the
him-
problems.
Well, the memes of him getting pulled over are actually kind of funny. I don't know if you guys saw that.
That was
Yeah,
real.
it's,
Yeah, he
No.
really got pulled over.
the
Now,
tweet
the
was not
Walker-
real. But
The Walker Howard one, I don't think was real, but because somebody put Walker Howard's face in the. But yeah.
the spread in that game is 2.5.
Dude,
Wow.
with Vandy
I'm
and
anchored
Texas.
down all day long. Ain't no way. The run game travels, dude.
Yeah, horns down, baby. All right, time for my favorite topic of the week.
C'est le pour la grémée. Emmenez à vous autres pas mange Lafayette.
Eat Lafayette, brought to you by Lafayette Travel. By the way, had some Laura's too when I was in town, and boy, that was good. My goodness. Now, look, it's a little bit peppered. Y'all got to watch. It's a little bit peppered, but let's talk about the Grammys segment tonight. What with Halloween coming up in a couple days, which is one of my favorite holidays, in case you can't tell. What is the single best horror movie of all time, in your opinion? And is there one that you watch every Halloween? My thoughts on this: the single best horror movie of all time, Sinister. And I know some people think that the scene where the guy with the lawnmower, that to me is the scariest probably scene in all of cinema. And what do I watch every single Halloween? The Shining. That is my go-to every Halloween. Coach Dez, tell me, what do you think is the best horror movie of all time outside of this season? And also, what do you think, what do you watch every Halloween?
You stole my answer, you dirty dog. I was literally going to say, well, guys, it's actually a movie that came out back in August. It's the 25 Cajuns offense. But I'm going to be honest. I'm really not a scary movie guy. That's never been my jam. You can call me a weenie.
Are you scared? Do you get scared?
Yeah, I am a jump scare guy. My kids scare me all the time. They walk
Dude,
up behind me, them little demons. They up my butt all day long.
I watched
What
it.
you watch?
I watched it last night in bed, and I fell asleep on it.
Now, let me tell you this. That little scene where he's in the gutter or whatever you call it, if they would say, hey, if you come down here, you get a trip to Omaha next season, dude, I'm diving headfirst into that culvert. I promise you.
Well, I think if they had it with that accent, I think all the kids would jump in there, because I would be like, hey, little boy, you come down here, you're going to be fine. They'd be like, okay, you know?
We serving chicken gumbo down here, boy. But no, scary movie wise, one that I actually liked, 1408, a really underrated scary movie.
That's a
that
good
I
movie,
really,
man.
really like, and I really do watch it occasionally. 1408 was one I watched when it came out, and I'm gonna be honest with you, as scary as it is, I was actually intrigued with the story of the show. So 1408 is my go-to, and it's a very underrated movie. Now, I will say the original Paranormal Activity scarred me for a very long time.
That's the answer.
Oh, yes. Those are so good, man.
The original Paranormal Activity really effed me up, because that came out whenever I was like early on, lower classmen in high school years. And I'm going to be honest with you, it took a long time for me to get over that one. But
I gotta
1408
say,
is my go-to.
I think it's a third one where they went back into the 80s, and we watched that. Me and a friend went to the theater back when it was fun to go to the theater, and watched it at the like midnight premiere. And dude, it was packed. It was so fun. That was the best way to watch it. Those freaked me out. Josh, your thoughts on the questions this week?
Also not a horror movie guy, but I did see the original Paranormal Activity, and I saw it in the theater. And the first, I don't know, hour, I thought, man, this is really stupid. And then the scene where they find the burnt picture in the attic, I'm telling you, to this day, like I've seen a couple of scary movies that kind of make you feel something. I have never been more creeped out than that moment in any movie. I'm just telling you. And I've seen, what was the Blair Witch Project? I know a lot of people had an issue with that. Like, it was like somewhat scary.
Right. Yeah.
But Paranormal Activity, when and then I also love the ending. I thought the ending was like perfectly done. But still to this day, if I think of something that I thought I was creeped out or scared by, it was definitely Paranormal Activity.
Faces of Death. I never got Faces of Death. I can't watch that because there's a lot of it's fake. They do have some real deaths in there, and that's just not my thing. Like just having bloody stuff on the screen for shock value, that does nothing for me. But the Terrifier movies are crazy. I will ask you next, Lane. What do you think?
Either the original Halloween movies or the original Paranormal Activity movie. Those definitely made me jump quite a bit.
All right, Jerry. What you got?
I'm gonna say, look, Paranormal Activity is freaky because it can happen at any house. You know, like it was just a regular home. I'm gonna say the original Exorcist freaked me out as a kid watching that. Especially considering the high school that I went to, there was a Jesuit priest that actually had performed exorcisms, so it kind of hits a little close to home. And then you asked, what do we watch every year? We actually, Kayla and I watch Hocus Pocus. That's our go-to. Not scary, but Halloween tradition, you know. Other horror movie. Oh, another horror movie I'll give is of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre always freaks me out. That's another one.
All right, you did not give bad answers. I do approve. I thought you were going to come up with something crazy.
And I'll give one more. And actually, Nick, are you a horror movie guy? Like you like
totally.
It?
Yeah, totally.
You ever seen Dead Silence about the puppeteer? Mm-hmm. That one freaks me out.
Yeah.
That one freaks me out.
You should have stopped at the first two. You were doing great.
Yeah, you were doing really well.
You've never seen Dead Silence?
I will tell you
I think it's dumb.
The only time I had a visceral reaction in a movie was watching Hannibal, and when at the end he's sitting at the table and they pull his skull off and then start that, I had a visceral reaction to that because I was so unexpected. But outside of that, I don't get scared because that was dude.
The intensity of that movie throughout, without even the jumps and all this stuff,
you
just
couldn't
the
even
intensity
breathe.
of it.
I know.
Yes, I would find myself. I mean, I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and I still would be like not breathing. I gotta breathe.
Nick, let me ask you this: since you're such a horror movie expert, there's one ending to one horror movie, and I don't remember the name of it. That's why I'm asking you. Where the last scene of the show is they're literally sticking a live human head inside of a microwave. And it goes for like 10 seconds and it explodes. It's a relatively newer, I'm gonna say 2010s. But man, it's on the tip of my tongue. But that one scene?
Last House on the Left. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Man, good job, G.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
that
good job because I would have never gotten it. I've totally forgot about that because it's stupid. All right, boys. I think that about does it for this week. We do want to thank our sponsors one last time: Gulf Coast Bank, Lafayette Roofing, The Yard Goat, Planet Radio 106.7, Yes Please Branding and Marketing, Old Time Grocery, Stride Safety Solutions, Eat Lafayette by Lafayette Travel, Rage and Hydration, Dr. Brett Venable and Recovery Chiromed, and of course the best stop, Cajun Market. I thought this was a Cajun song. This sounds more Mexican. No? All right, maybe not. It's a Halloween Cajun song.
I like it.
I'm kind of digging it. Des is blowing whistles over there. I am not Brett Benoit, so I'm not feeling too beat up tonight. Student manager Jared going fist pump somewhere. I don't know what the Ghost of Cajun Field was doing earlier, but anyway, for all the boys here tonight, I am Nicholas. Thank you all again for joining us for another edition of Rage and Review. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and until next time, as always, we say go Cajuns.
Halloween, Halloween, dans la Louisiane. Halloween, Halloween, dessus le caillou. Halloween, Halloween, dans la campagne. Les diables et les loups-garous.